The Carter Mysteries, The Incident of the Russian Visitors, by Jonathan Holloway.
Our store's full now. We badly need to do a massive clear out. Phil, my father-in-law, he just won't get on with it. It's hard for him to think about the future since Andy, his son, my husband, since Andy... Carter and Sons, but no sons anymore, eh? Anyway, he knows if he doesn't wake up soon, we'll be bust. He just can't... get going, I suppose. So, it was a Tuesday morning, late summer. Phil was trying to fit more boxes into the store, so I'd shut up and stop nagging him.
Hello? Hello? Okay. You're okay? No, straighten up. Yeah, straighten up. Come. Straighten up! Oh, bad luck. But you're through. Morning.
You need a bigger gate.
Yeah, well, it was put up 130 years ago.
That's a bad scratch.
Victor, it's okay. These things happen.
We manage with our wagons. I'd say there's plenty of room for your average Zill.
What does he mean? It's a Mercedes-Benz, not a Zill.
I'm just showing off. I know where you're from. But I think they look like great cars, those Zills. Like the big old V8 American cars in Cuba. Ridiculous, of course.
Are you ecologist?
No, not really.
Back home, Mr. Putin, he knows what to do with ecologists.
Well, you're not home, are you?
You are Mr. Clutter.
I am indeed.
My name is Dmitry Semyonov. This is my colleague, Victor. We have come to see you about your antique furniture.
Well, I'm afraid I'm not really a dealer, Mr.
Sure, but you sell things, eh?
Now and then.
You have not filed accounts with Company's House for 2 years.
Well, thank you for your interest.
You have a big store here. It's a surprise.
Yeah, well, all that belongs to other people. My great-grandfather promised if a removal went wrong, then Carter and Sons would store the client's belongings until they could collect them. Huh? Then came the First World War, Spanish flu, the Great Depression, the Second World War.
What if they don't collect their things?
Because they are dead.
I have money, Mr. Carter. I'm here to do business.
Uh-huh. What are you looking for?
Morning.
Good morning, Mrs. Carter. Lisa.
How do you know my name?
I am sorry for your loss. Afghanistan.
What?
I lost 2 uncles there.
Different war.
Different army, same war.
Dad, wake up. I've got your coffee when you want it. Help these gentlemen out, won't you?
Yeah, all right, Lisa. Don't show me up.
Good hips.
Keep calm and carry on, Dad.
Right.
It was a compliment.
You're not her dad.
No, some days I'm Phil. Sometimes I'm Dad. It depends.
We believe you have a table in your store. We want to buy it.
Tables I've got coming out of my ears.
Is he crazy?
I'm sure Mr. Carter is not crazy. Are you?
Oh, over some things. Yeah. Kent Cobbs in the autumn. My grandson, Bobby.
To business, Mr. Carter. During the Russian Revolution, stolen items came to England. Now there are men with money who want to buy them back. We are employed by such a man. He's looking for a particular table, black, with gilded decoration. It is very heavy. Do you understand?
Oh, yeah, I understand, yeah. I can't remember seeing anything like that.
You have records?
We did. They got lost. When did it come to England?
1919 from Sebastopol aboard a British ship.
And you've got a name?
The embassy in London has shipping files. We know it was delivered to here by horse and cart, but no name.
1919. It could be 50 feet back, 100 feet. Look, our store is like an ocean abyss. It's fathomless. My uncle had problems with a local family after one of their cousins disappeared in there during the war. They never found him. Maybe he did a bunk to avoid the army.
You have bills to pay.
Is there anything unlawful about this?
In our country, the lines between official and private enterprise, they're not so clear.
As I wouldn't want anything coming back on us.
Don't worry. You are unimportant.
Oh, well, thank you for the compliment. Your hands. Tattoos. They're impressive.
You have many bills to pay. And you were in prison, too. We do our homework.
Just find the table.
I think you and your friend better go.
Why are you playing games?
This is business, Mr. Carter, and you will be well paid. This can be easy, but if you make things difficult, then it's okay, too.
I need time to think.
Hey, Phil, your coffee's getting cold.
Right. Goodbye, Mr. Smirnov.
Phil? Is everything all right? The van boys are on their way.
You don't have van boys. You employ casual laborers, war veterans. One has a metal stick for a leg. They are on a job out of London today. Victor, get in the car.
I also have a police detective friend who's coming over here.
I think it's good for a widow not to live in the past.
What do you mean?
Mr. Carter, are you listening to me? Today is Tuesday. I shall be back on Friday, very early. I will have more men and a truck. You will have the table ready. If you do not do this, then you are no use to us. And we shall steal the table in any case. And you'll get nothing, except maybe a stay in hospital, if you behave foolishly.
What did you say?
We have compassion. This is an opportunity for you.
I don't trust you.
This is an opportunity for you. I agree. Maybe we don't have so much compassion.
This is England.
You do not understand. We can do what we like. No one will stop us. Friday. 3 days.
I feel like I'm changing. Like I don't know my old self. Or that my old self is retreating into the distance, waving as she goes, and I don't know who I am without her. When Andy died, the world became strange. Like that feeling you get when you've been on holiday and you come back and for a few days your world isn't quite right, isn't the place that you recognise as home. Andy was my home. I'm a lodger now.
Gull, do something, will you?
What do you want me to do?
Pardon?
They've managed not to commit a crime.
Excuse me, I'd say they've managed to not commit a crime with menaces.
I can't arrest people for being unpleasant.
Well, you could be here when they come back.
Morning. Why the long faces? Morning, Inspector Shaheen.
Morning, Stephen.
Hello, Carter and Sons.
It's me.
Oh, hello, Del. What's up?
Sorry, Phil. We've been pulled over by the police. We're in a lay-by on the Hog's Back near Guildford.
You're joking.
Yeah, overloaded. There's going to be a fine and points. They won't let us go until we offload some of the stuff, and then both vans will be accompanied to our weighbridge.
What's happening now?
I'll get a van to you. Look, is there room to back up another truck behind and transfer half the furniture?
Yeah, it's fine.
Great. Radio says it'll stay dry.
Doesn't sound good.
We need to talk, Phil. If this happens again, I'll lose my licence. See ya.
Toodaloo. They got on the Hog's Back and your lot pulled them.
What for?
Overloaded.
I asked you if we needed a 7-tonner.
Stephen, get round a budget, sort out a transit, and then phone Derek with an ETA.
I'm already there, boss.
Extra hire costs, and we'll have to pay Derek's fine.
I didn't think we'd need a 7-tonner.
It was a false economy, though, wasn't it?
I didn't know Stephen could drive.
Phil got him through his test.
You said it wasn't worth it because he wouldn't stick around, but he has.
Putting the sun back in suns. Well, if we sell that table, we can afford a decent enough bung, so Derek will take the points without arguing.
You too. I'm a policeman, remember?
Phil, please, just go and look for that table.
You go, you rummage around in all that filth.
You know I don't go in there. Everything in that warehouse has a story, vibrations and that.
Yeah, I forgot you're clairvoyant.
The correct word is sensitive. Don't look at me like that. It's real and I'm not ashamed. It's a pity you can't be more supportive. Now then, we have to make some money, don't we?
What we need is for you to do your job, Inspector Shaheen.
Don't start on Gull just because those gangsters terrified you and now you're all wounded. You phoned Gull and he came.
I didn't phone him.
I was on my way over.
Eh? Why?
I'm sorry, but I've shut down the work on your flats.
What? Oh, I don't believe this.
Your builders were pulling up the laminate on the ground floor. They found blood under the old lino.
God help us.
Sokor are in. We are searching records to see if the property has been linked to any known criminal activity.
Yeah, well, it never rains.
If you'd let me sell some of what's in the warehouse, I wouldn't have to mess about patching up our pathetic property portfolio.
Right, I'll be in touch.
Oh, wait, just a minute. What about those mafia blokes?
Find the table and sell it to them. I suppose I could be here when they come back, but I don't know what good it would do. I'll let you know.
What do you mean? Why are you being all mysterious, Gull? You used to listen to Andy's opinions.
Yeah, well, all this would have been his.
What's that supposed to mean?
I'm sorry. Of course, it's yours and Bobby's now. When I'm gone.
If there's still a business.
It's 3 years now.
I know. There's a Stan Widows thing next month.
Hey, you going?
No. Andy and me, we've been talking.
Lisa.
I agree. I think I've gone mad. You satisfied? Phil, I'd like to spend the evening with Gull. Drinking a meal over Crystal Palace. Would you look after Bobby?
Yeah, of course, if,
Andy doesn't mind. He said so. I don't know if the spirits and seances and all that are real or not, and I've decided it doesn't matter. I can't tell what goes on in other people's heads any more than they know what goes on in mine. I don't know that if I had your brain put in my head, I'd see the same colours you do, or taste the same things. Maybe my pink is your gold. Maybe your sugary sweet is my salt and vinegar. How can we possibly know what another human hears, or sees, or feels? I don't mind if I'm mad. I don't mind if the spiritualist church is rubbish. I don't mind if Andy's ghost, spirit, is real or not. If I believe he's real, then that's enough. Oh, anything to drink?
Hi, yeah, I got some of my special whiskey here.
Oh, yes, please.
I thought you were going to be out late with Gull. What happened?
I spoke to him on the phone. He said he's asking around about Dimitri and Victor. He'll be in touch tomorrow.
Yeah, but I thought I was babysitting because you two were on a date.
He looked at me.
Right. We're not talking about Gull, are we? I thought you weren't going over there again.
No, I never agreed.
They're nutters, Lisa.
How's Bobby?
Oh, it's fine. Settled down around 8. Got a takeaway delivered.
There's food in the fridge.
Bobby likes poppadoms.
This evening, it was a bit shocking.
You don't fit in there. Those people stink of loneliness.
Oh, I assure you, tonight I fitted right in.
Tell me.
If you don't start shaking your head and sighing.
Okay, I promise.
Greg put on a CD. And he made us all relax and close our eyes. He had us imagining limitless, calming colours. Then he did the usual order of service, invited the spirits to visit with their messages. And then we opened our eyes and he was turning his head from side to side, saying, "The spirits want to come through."
And you think Andy was there?
No.
You said
I'll get to that. So, Greg said there were 2 figures and they were mouthing my name, Lisa, and they were frightened. And Greg could see them in his mind, and one was holding up an old Will's tobacco tin, green, with letters painted on. And then Greg started shaking. His teeth were chattering, and he spelt out the letters on this box. And I wrote them down for him. Goliadkin. And then he really lost it. He was on the floor, trembling, crying like he was having a nightmare. And then he said, "Lisa, it's you they've come to speak to."
You didn't think he was putting it on?
Oh, he might have been, but I reckon if he was pretending, then weeing himself was going a bit far, don't you?
Yeah, I don't like him.
The spirits were desperate and then angry, and then they got inside him. He was cursing, really terrible, swearing like you wouldn't believe. You thought any minute he'd shake himself to bits. Ted called an ambulance.
Oh, maybe he'll get charged for wasting their time.
No, not the state he was in.
You said he looked at you. You didn't mean Greg.
No.
I thought not.
Andy was there. Not at the start, but he arrived sometime during the séance. He was looking in at the window.
Lisa.
Oh, I'm sorry, Phil. I know it upsets you, but I can't lie. I saw my husband. He was wearing his beret and his tropical combats, exactly the same as the night he left for Brize Norton.
Lisa.
And though he was right at the far end of the hall, I could hear his voice as if he was speaking close to my ear. You watch out, Lisa. Those men will do anything. Give them what they want. Get rid of them. I asked myself if I am nuts. Truthfully, I don't think I could stand it if I thought I was, and it was just me. But then I reason it out. Well, everyone's nuts. Just look around you. People believe in all kinds of things without nearly as much proof as I've got. So my madness is at least of a less, a lesser magnitude? Is that right? Yeah, a lesser magnitude than some. I can live with that. I wish I didn't have to. But I can. Oh, well, this is all we need.
Anything missing?
They busted the hasp and turned the office over.
Steve, go round to Mr. Hussein's, get a new hasp, bolts, padlock, and a backing plate. Here's 20.
Right away, boss.
Oh, don't forget to ask for a receipt.
Well, this is just to let us know they've been.
And if they want to, they can take stuff without paying.
Shouldn't you investigate?
I don't think so.
Well, that doesn't sound very official.
I did some research on your Russians. Not nice. Hello?
Hello, is this the officer I see the West Norwood investigation?
It's me.
Oh, hello, Gull.
So how are we doing?
Nil for DNA. Bleach did for that.
I see.
And we can't identify hemoglobin.
So, outcome?
No evidence to speak of.
Right.
We can't find any associations for that address.
Thanks, Frank. Can you let Sako know? Get the tape off the house and tidy up. Workmen need to get on site sharpish, I believe. Thanks. Bye, Frank.
Well, are we in the clear?
While your builders was calling the police yesterday, one of his chaps had a brainwave and had a go at the stain with bleach, which is the most efficient way of destroying DNA. There are no criminal associations with that building either. Not that we can trace on computer anyway. So, your blocks can go back to work.
Oh, that's very good.
Gull, you were going to say something about our foreign visitors?
I have a colleague at the Foreign Office. He called to say my name has popped up. Last night, someone in the Russian section accessed the folder I opened on your apartments.
Oh, why would that interest them?
I wish I knew.
Well, I phoned Dan. He'll know what kind of table we're searching for.
MacPherson,
Yeah, he knows his stuff.
he's fly. Don't get involved in any of his funny business.
I've known Dan a long time. Well, I'm going to start tidying up.
New hasp, bolts, padlock. Getting a bit of old drill steel for the back plate.
Great. Receipt?
Yep.
Cube.
Lisa, fancy that drink later?
Let me get Bobby to bed, and then Phil can babysit.
Oh, can he?
I'll keep you company. Bring over my True Detective box set.
9 okay?
Yeah.
Bye all.
Tell you, I do not like going this far inside. The light's no good. It's always freezing. Come on, Dan. Oh, and you can't hear the world outside at all.
Yes, the thickness of the walls, steady temperature and so on. But you're right, it's certainly got an atmosphere.
I don't like coming in by myself. I don't talk about it to Lisa much. That would be playing into her hands. She won't come in here, mind you. I never. Never bothered Andy, though.
But look at how 100 years of dust can turn itself into felt underlay.
Disgusting.
All this horsehair, human skin and animal droppings matted itself together. Jesus, what's that?
A skeleton cowboy.
Oh, God.
From a ghost train. A fairground went bust.
How old is it?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, if it's pre-plastic, which it looks like it is, then it'll be a real human skeleton. Boiled and mounted. That's a lot of money, Phil.
This is brilliant.
Oh, God. Stephen, I'm on blood pressure tablets.
Sorry, keeps out the dust.
What?
The dust.
Oh,
Anyway, give us a hand, will you? I think I found something.
Where?
Over near the old staircase on a piano trolley. A thick canvas over it and all roped up.
Come on, Stephen, whereabouts?
Well, there's a pile of old tin deed boxes on top of it.
ah. That's the sort of size we're looking for.
It's roped up tight. Oh, that's a serious bit of tarpaulin.
Well, it's an old sail of a barge, maybe. You've got a lot of good stuff here. But the filth, God help us.
Use that box cutter I gave you, Stephen.
Yeah. Cut where the knots are. do as little damage as possible. It's hemp. Interior designers buy it for decorating pubs and restaurants. That's good. Let's fold the canvas back carefully so we keep as much of the muck as possible contained.
I'll tell you what, you carry on. I'm going to fetch Lisa from the office.
That's it.
Right, so. Oh, my word.
That's it. Good.
Is that it?
It's bloody ugly. Give us that bottle of water, Lisa.
There's something not correct. I mean, the paint's terrible, but the table itself is ridiculously heavy. Why would a thing like that be made out of hardwood? Stephen, give me your knife.
What's that?
Brown paper. The whole thing has brown paper gummed onto it. Pass me that bottle of water, Phil. And that rag. See.
What?
The paper was glued on, then painted to disguise what's underneath. See for yourself.
Oh, it's very shiny.
Blimey.
Black lacquer on tropical hardwood. Hundreds of layers of varnish painted on and rubbed back over and over again. And I think we'll find, once the paper is removed... Yes. The mouldings at the corners are silver gilt. This is your table, Phil.
Oh, it's like a mirror.
You look at that little shiny patch and imagine the Romanov family seeing their own reflections in it.
What's it worth, Dan?
Well, it depends on condition. There could be cracks. Unlikely, though. It's been kept in perfect conditions.
Well, how old is it?
1900, thereabouts.
And definitely Russian.
Absolutely. It was made to go up against a wall, maybe under a mirror. They were always in pairs. Now, if someone owns the sister to this, they'll do anything to reunite them. And so would I.
There's a drawer.
Oh, yeah? Well, you found it. You opened it.
Really? Nothing. Except a 100-year-old Russian bee.
Pull it right out. Look at the back. There might be a maker's name.
There's a label stuck on crooked. The South Metropolitan Cemetery Company. Norwood Cemetery Catacombs. Aisle 3, Bay 4.
What?
Well, that's just up the blooming road.
But this is supposed to be a secret, right?
Looks like you've got a copper-bottom mystery on your hands, Phil. I am jealous.
There are ghosts. I was a cow when I was younger. I had sex with my best friend's uncle. He was 50 years old when I was 18. I did it just because I was curious. What would it be like? A cold curiosity. Like when animals stop and cock their heads sideways studying something. My feet just carried me to his front door, then to his living room sofa, to him, while my friend's auntie was out, and I didn't even think about it. He cried afterwards, and I looked at him and I didn't feel anything. And when I met Andy, I fell bang in love. The love of my life. Cosmic love, there was no arguing with it. He changed me in an instant, turned me from black and white to colour. It doesn't make sense to believe that can end just because a stranger lets off an IED under a Land Rover. It's impossible, surely. Be reasonable, that light can't just be switched off, it has to go somewhere. And I want to... No, I do believe I have found him again.
Hello everyone, sorry it took so long. I've been on to my friend at GCHQ and he passed me on to a bloke in Whitehall. Where is Lisa?
I don't know.
Oh, here she comes.
Well, don't keep us in suspense.
Oh, you all right, Lisa?
It's like spooks.
Let's just go through the list. Russian gangsters, an expensive table discovered in your store with a mysterious message hidden in it, blood on the floorboards of a flat that belongs to you.
Well, the blood has nothing to do with the Russians, though.
I think we can assume they are linked because my file on the Blad's discovery was accessed by the Foreign Office.
Well, that might just be because you're connected to Carter and Sons and they've been checking everyone out.
Maybe they've checked you out, Stephen.
You don't think they did, do you?
Obviously, we didn't know if there is any connection between the blood and the table. But I think I've come up with a pretty good theory. All right. Britain cut diplomatic relations when the Bolsheviks murdered Queen Alexander's nephew, Tsar Nicholas. Scotland Yard emptied their embassy of all files relating to exiled Russians in case the Bolsheviks came looking for them. All that stuff is digitized somewhere. It took the Whitehall bloke about 10 minutes to find out an elderly couple with a grown-up daughter rented your house back in 1923, before it was divided into flats. And they brought some furniture to England. They put a large item in store with George Carter and Sons at 509 Norwood Road, London, South East.
Did they have a name?
Golyatkin.
The ghosts at the seance.
The Golyatkins' rent was paid by the Russian government in exile. The couple were formal domestic servants from a Romanov holiday home in Sebastopol in the Crimea. But of course, we don't know whose blood that was or what happened to their daughter.
Well, at the seance, they were in a panic.
Lisa, there are no ghosts.
Don't be absurd. They're around every corner. We've got a warehouse full of them.
What?
It's why I don't like going in there. You all reckon it's too quiet inside. You've said so. But to me, it's like bedlam. I hoped Andy might be in there somewhere. So I put a chair outside under one of the side windows and sat in the sun with my eyes closed. And he came to the window above me and he explained something that I didn't quite understand until now. The Golyadkins were murdered in that room. Hello, Carter and Sons Removals.
Good afternoon, Lisa. I should say, Mrs. Carter.
Afternoon. It's him. It's Dimitri.
I promised I'd come to see you tomorrow. I hope we shall be able to conclude our business to everyone's satisfaction.
Well, I don't know about that.
I do.
Our friend Inspector Shaheen's here.
I know. We are watching you. We paid a visit a few nights ago, remember?
So you planted a camera?
What?
I'm not standing here being looked at by you and God knows who else. Right, come on, everyone. Outside.
Oh, Lisa. This is ridiculous.
There could be a camera out here too.
Is there a camera in the yard as well?
No, there wasn't time.
You're probably lying. Who cares? Do you want to talk to Inspector Shaheen yourself?
Your inspector, he has his world, I have mine. He and I should not meet.
Sorry?
What?
We Russians are very important now. Not a funny joke anymore. Your government doesn't want problems. 11 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Apparently you shouldn't be here tomorrow. Dimitri says it wouldn't be good.
My Foreign Office friend said the same.
Nah, hold up, Gal. Foreign Office, Whitehall. What's going on?
I'm the son of a previously influential Persian family who got out of Iran during the Islamic Revolution. My family has connections, and from time to time we have made ourselves useful. I can't say anymore. From here on, this all needs to proceed as simply as possible. Just the two of you, Phil and Lisa.
I should be here too.
No, Stephen.
But
Don't come in until the afternoon. Find something else to do.
You'll get your money in cash. That's how it's done. They load up, they go.
And what if I don't like the offer?
It won't be one to refuse, believe me. Take the money, then it's all over.
Hello? We found your camera. Here.
Thank you. Keep it. You look tired, Mr. Carter. Maybe you didn't sleep so well. I did.
Excuse me?
One sleeps more easily once you realize how the world really works.
I'm not following you.
Never mind. Thank you for being here early and cooperating. Shall we go?
I feel like I've been mugged.
But you are financially much better off.
Yeah, well, you've treated us like we're helpless.
You are.
But we didn't murder you like the old Soviets would have, simply for the pleasure of it.
I want to hear what you know about the Goliadkins.
Why not? The Goliadkins didn't have any children. They were actually the servants of the woman they passed off as their daughter. She was the 28-year-old Princess Irina Alexandrovna, the only niece of the murdered Tsar Nicholas II. The table is one of a pair from the royal family's Zivadia palace in Sebastopol. My boss has the other one, and he wants this very much indeed. The Bolsheviks decided to assassinate Irina Alexandrovna in your apartment. We know they got her servants, but she might have escaped.
So you don't know if she was actually killed?
I think perhaps she got away. There were reports of her being seen over the years. Of course, if we had got some Romanov DNA, then we'd know for sure. But your builders bleached the floorboards, didn't they? We have read Inspector Shahin's file on the case.
So what if she got away?
Our boss and other men like him, well, they're always worried about the sudden appearance of a descendant of the Tsar. That would mean all bets are off regarding ownership of one or two palaces, one or two estates this side of Texas, and the drilling rights that go with them.
I see.
Who knows? Maybe she got away and had kids, and there are lots of little Romanovs in the world. They'd better watch out.
Dmitri, let's go!
You will not mention this outside of your circle of people here. If we see this as news anywhere on the internet, we will come back. You can be sure of that. You understand? Say, yes, I understand.
Yes, I understand.
Well, that's a relief.
Hello. I waited for them to go.
You're filthy.
I've been to the cemetery.
Oh.
It's amazing. I crawled in through a narrow space under a brickwork tomb thing. There's like a cavern inside, like in Doctor Who, this huge underground hall, all done out of, like, bricks. And there's this big machine in the middle, like a giant car jack, a table on top of an iron pillar, and that's what they use to bring down the coffins from the chapel up above.
Are you making this up?
Well, I'll take you if you want.
No, thanks.
Anyway, it stinks on account it gets flooded and there are hundreds of coffins, all higgledy-piggledy. The South Metropolitan Cemetery Company, Catacombs, Aisle 3, Bay 4. I found them. 2 coffins covered in leather with loads of big, like, copper nails on, labelled Goliadkin. And round the back, I found this.
But don't show me, I know what it is.
Go on then, you say.
It's a green tobacco tin made by W.D. and H.O. Wills, and it's got their name, Goliadkin, painted on it.
That's right. How did you know?
I was told.
Who by?
Never mind.
What's in it?
Lists.
What?
Names. All foreign sounding, with addresses beside them. England mostly, but some in Scotland.
Russians. I suppose it tells you where they went.
Have all the names really got addresses? No, don't say.
Lisa, you're scaring me.
Suppose her name's there.
Whose?
It wouldn't be right. The Goliadkins died for her. They didn't want anyone knowing. That's why they were so afraid, in case the royal bloodline could be traced. What are we gonna do? Ghosts, there are different kinds. And they don't have to be dead even. I had this friend and she went to be a social worker. She had a colleague who was bonkers because of ghosts. He had some really difficult cases, horrible, where other social workers got involved with clients, and this bloke was haunted by the people he'd shopped to the authorities. They'd look over his shoulder at him when he was in front of a mirror at home or looking out of a window. He covered all the mirrors in his house with towels and pillowcases, closed the curtains, and sat in the dark.
comfortable carrying this much cash on me. I need to get to the bank.
Well, let's check the safe before we do anything else.
Well, the warehouse is still locked up. No intruders. All looks fine. That cash should at least keep the bank off our back. I'll go over and pay it in after. God, it's even colder than usual. It's like a refrigerator.
I'll stand out here.
Well, we're all right, I think. No one's moved the furniture.
Undisturbed? Good.
You worried that spirits might have got in here last night?
Are you being funny?
No. Let's try to turn over a new leaf. Show that we can talk about anything you like.
How could they?
How could who what?
How could ghosts get into a safe? They don't have proper hands. What's wrong?
It's not here.
Show me. What have you done?
Nothing. You said yourself you checked it last night.
What? Did you come back here afterwards?
Oh, you know I didn't.
Stephen?
He doesn't have keys. You told me not to give him any, remember? I'm a bit afraid.
So am I. Do you think the Goliadkins are in here?
I don't know. There might be.
Might have been on guard for 90 years.
Well, everyone's got to live somewhere.
Even if they're dead. So, it had been an extraordinary week. Suddenly, we had enough cash to get us out of trouble for a while. Phil seemed to let go a bit, got more interested, curious. Maybe it was because of me and the Goliadkins, but I felt as if his light was coming on again. I think he started to believe that Andy was somewhere nearby. Surely it might now only take a little faith to make something special out of lives that have been blighted and paralysed. So, Carter and Sons, let's have a real go, shall we, Phil? Come on.
In The Carter Mysteries, The Incident of the Russian Visitors by Jonathan Holloway, Lisa was played by Jeannie Spark, Phil by Stephen Greif, Gull by Sheriff Durrani, and Stephen by Harry McIntyre.
Behold, I show you a mystery.
Now, you just stay calm,
We
Mr.
shall
Mace.
not all
Here,
speak,
we can
but
handle
we
this.
shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible.
Excuse me, Reverend.
Let me go.
Get off me. Hold it,
Get off me! You gotta stop the funeral! He was murdered! Harry Pace was murdered by his missus. I knows it.
May the 29th, 1928. Sir, many Englishmen...
What is it?
The Daily Express. Sir, many Englishmen rightfully believe that one of the superiorities of their law over that of foreigners is the treatment of an accused person as innocent until he is proved guilty.
And is the writer an old colonel or an old major?
Colonel Harcourt Winterbottom.
I'm so glad. What is that?
It's about Annie Pace, the woman who poisoned her husband.
Oh, the Colford poisoner. The Times did mention it.
The Express has it on pages 1 and 3 with an editorial on page 12. The Herald has 2 pages of photographs.
It is a corker, isn't it?
The deceased brother interrupting the funeral to point the finger at his sister-in-law. It's as good as Sexton Blake. What's the Colonel have to say on the matter?
It's mostly about the interrogation. Many Englishmen must have been rudely shocked by the cruel treatment of Mrs. Pace, whose interrogation by Scotland Yard officers lasted 13 hours, during which time her children were neither fed nor allowed any other comfort.
He is right, of course.
That English is always better than foreign?
That a 13-hour interrogation is not very British. Give him the 3rd degree, Motsy. Did she do it?
She had every right to. Her husband treated her abominably.
If she'd set about him with a meat cleaver, she might plead self-defense, but it's a tricky one to pull off where poisoning's involved.
What possible alternative did she have?
To killing him?
She's the victim.
That's not how they taught it at Cambridge.
In a civilized country, this cruelty... There would be a remedy. The husband would go to prison and the wife granted an automatic divorce.
The Herald's not even paying lip service to impartiality. Many sympathizers are rallying to the cause of this distressed widow.
Oh. Mr. A.A. Purcell, Member of Parliament for the Forest of Dean.
Odious man. What about him?
Has already started a public subscription for the purpose of raising the necessary money for the defence of Mrs. Pace.
Heart on his sleeve, eye on the ballot box.
It is his hope that by such means the money will be found to provide for her the services of an eminent counsel at the trial. They will telephone.
No.
After the Denniston case, who else would they want? They will telephone. You will take the case. It will make you the most celebrated barrister in the country, and your vanity will be insufferable.
Only if I win.
They will telephone.
I'm not sure I'd accept anyway.
You will.
I'm not sure I'd want it.
It's marked 1,000 guineas.
Would it be appropriate, perhaps, if I said I'd forego the fee?
Not a good idea, sir, if you don't mind me saying. There's always a next time and a next time, isn't there?
Here or...?
Gloucester Assizes.
Prosecuting?
Merriman.
Oh, law. Seated?
Mr. Justice Horridge.
Horridge.
It's not that bad.
Solicitor General, most eminent judge on the circuit, and me. I feel as if I'm number 11 bat for the Ulverston boys sent in to face Larwood and Tyldesley.
It'll put you with the immortals, sir. It's a great honour.
Or a poisoned chalice. Have you had a look?
You've got the press on your side.
I've seen. What's that one?
The World's Pictorial News. Turn over. Picture. Very distinguished you look too.
Good Lord.
Annie Pace is the pretty rosy-cheeked widow. You're one of the finest counsels in England, and the editorial uses the word travesty 3 times.
So, if Mr. Justice Horridge flies in the face of legal precedent and rules that a leader from the World's Pictorial News is admissible evidence, we're in with a chance.
Slowing down again. Problem? Not so far as I can see. I was wondering whether we were near Colford.
No, miles away. Colford's the other side of Gloucester, in the Forest of Dean.
Never been there.
Ancient woodland. Very ancient. They do things differently in the Forest of Dean.
Only I read in the paper the train slows down when it passes Annie Pace's cottage at Colford, so people can get a look.
Nowhere near.
They're doing charabanc tours.
They're not.
Advertised in the Gloucester papers. Brunswick Square to Colford and back with commentary from a knowledgeable guide. 5 and 6. Bring sandwiches. And the house? Rose cottage. But not a rose left in the garden. All picked for souvenirs. Morbid.
Is it just pruriens, though, do you think?
Sir?
This great wave of sympathy for Annie Pace. Something I've never seen quite so vividly in any other case. The murderess as victim. She's touched a nerve. The soul of the nation has been stirred. Daunting, though.
Beg your pardon, sir?
Conducting a criminal trial in the glare of the public gaze. If I lose...
You're not going to lose. That's why they chose you. The way you took the jury with you on the Denniston case, never heard such eloquence.
Well,
there's no one at that bar a patch on you for touching hearts and minds. It's a precious gift. If you don't mind me saying so, sir.
My wife wondered whether we'd be finished by Friday.
Next Friday?
I'd like to be home by next Friday.
Something special?
The nurse's birthday.
Oh, my goodness, she must be, what, 4?
5.
Oh, I'll have to sort her out a present.
That's a very kind thought, Edgar, but really you must.
Oh, they've got a very nice baking set I saw at Woolworths. A toy baking set. With all the pans and a little oven. Unless she's got one already.
I don't believe she has. No.
Probably a bit young for a post office set.
What's going on?
Can't see, sir. Driver?
They've been there all week, sir. Crowd of women outside the prison.
For Annie Pace?
Of course.
Extraordinary.
There's hundreds of them. Flappers.
My God, she's touched a nerve.
I fear for the country.
Do you?
This next election, them, voting. I mean, I've nothing against women having the vote.
I'm glad to hear it.
So long as they're sensible.
Ah.
Which is why it made sense the old way. But women under 30, look at them.
The Liberal Party campaigned long and hard for truly universal suffrage.
I know that, sir, and in principle I'm with you all the way. Democracy is a wonderful thing, but in practice, you see it. First time they go to the polls, we'll have Douglas Fairbanks in number 10.
Couldn't do much worse than Baldwin.
Don't they have parents? Good morning, Mrs. Pace. My name's Bowker, Edgar Bowker, and this is Mr. Burkett, who will be defending you in court.
Pleased to meet you.
How are they treating you here, Mrs. Pace? Do you have everything you need?
Well, they've all been very kind. But I miss the children. I worry about little Jean.
Of course.
There are babies here. 4 of them. Sometimes I hear them crying at night. One of them's called Jean, too. I've been knitting some socks for her just to keep my mind off things. I managed 5 pairs so far.
Excellent. Now, Mrs. Pace, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you some questions of a delicate nature about your husband and the way he treated you during your married life.
I've been through all that with the police and the coroners.
Yes, I've read the accounts, but it's important I hear it from you personally, Mrs. Pace. Small, easily overlooked details can become very important in the courtroom.
Yes.
Now, you were married when you were 17.
That's right. After I lost my mother, I went into service down in London, but Harry wasn't having it. He said I had to come back and marry him, or he wouldn't be held responsible. So I did.
And in general, would you say the marriage was a happy one?
I think you know it was not.
Mr. Burkett does need to hear it in your own words. Mrs. Pace.
The beatings began nearly as soon as we set up home together as man and wife. He'd get angry with me. He was a very jealous man. And before you ask, he had no reason to be.
I'm sure.
He took his belt to me. First time it happened, I ran all the way home to my father's house. It was the middle of the night and I didn't know what else to do. He came after me, of course. He stood outside the house and shouted for me.
Forgive me for asking, Mrs. Pace, but was your husband a drinking man?
No, not my Harry. Never cared for it. He loved sweets, though. He'd do anything for a quarter of sweets.
After he followed you to your father's house, you went back to him?
Not that night, no. He was shouting and shouting for me, so my brother opened the window and tried to reason with him. Harry told him to put my head out the window so he could shoot it off. He had a pistol. I thought he could change. He said he was sorry for what had happened. Soon after I went back to him, he started tying me to the bedpost when he went out to look after his sheep. The first time he did it, I thought he'd only be gone a few minutes. Then it started to get dark. He was gone 8 hours.
You were left without food and water?
I was, sir.
And who looked after the children?
This was right at the beginning, before they came along.
Did your husband's manner change? Was he more attentive to you when you were expecting?
Well, the beatings got worse, so I suppose so. 5 of my children were born dead or died very soon after. If I tell you their names, Mr. Burkett, will you write them down?
If you wish me to.
There was Cyril, Hillier, Kathleen, Ursula, and little William. He beat me so badly when I was carrying my babies, it's a wonder any of them survived. And the living children didn't fare no better. Once he poured petrol all over their bedclothes and set them on fire.
Why did he do these things?
He was a very angry man. He'd thrash my Dorothy if she tried to get between us when he was in one of his moods. He'd take a strap to the boys. I never knew where the rages came from. I tried my best to please him.
I'm sure you did.
He hated me to care for anything. My brother Fred gave me a little dog once as a present. A Pomeranian. You know?
Yes.
No bigger than a teacup. He snatched it out of my hands and dashed it against the wall. Sometimes in the evening I'd see him walking home through the fields towards Rose Cottage, and there'd be something in the way he was walking. With his head down and swishing at the grass with his stick. I'd know I was for it when he got home. I'm sorry, Mr. Burkett, Mr. Banker. I'm very tired now.
Of course. Mr. Burkett?
Thank you, Mrs. Pace.
Well, it doesn't bear thinking about. I'm not one to speak ill of the dead, but he does sound like a piece of work, doesn't he?
You don't think, Edgar, you don't think she sounded a little bit rehearsed? Like something you might read in the world's pictorial news?
Well, she's given statements at the coroner's court, local police, Scotland Yard, magistrates, solicitors. Hardly surprising.
But I assume the newspaper people have been to see her in prison.
Hundreds, I would have thought. Well, you think somebody might have been coaching her?
It happens. Never stands well in the witness box. And nothing she says actually adds up to her defence. The cruelty, the beatings, the little dog will almost certainly be used against her. She's not sure of a motive or two, is she, Edgar? Did you dig up anything on Harry Pace's brother?
Elton Pace. Chap at the solicitors has got all the documents. Elton Pace's small holding is adjacent to Rose Cottage, and there's been argy-bargy about it for ages. He's apparently very keen to get his hands on Harry's bit of land.
Keen enough to kill for it?
Dunno. Keen enough to stop a funeral. Possibly even keen enough to see his sister-in-law hanged. You've got lunch booked with Dupré. The family doctor.
Ah.
Yes, I had occasion to treat Harry Pace several times in the last few years. In fact, Mr. Burkett, that man over there.
Which man?
Looks familiar.
Oh, Lord Chesterton.
G.K. Chesterton? Of course. I've seen his picture.
Has he seen me?
I don't think so.
I'm afraid this trial has turned into a three-ring circus. There are, to my certain knowledge, some 7 celebrated writers in town. 3 of them are staying here at the King's Arms.
7?
Chesterton spoke to me yesterday evening in what's often described as his characteristically ebullient manner.
No.
Is he advancing?
Retreating.
Good. How's your chop?
Excellent. Where was I?
Attending Harry Pace.
Aye, of course. I've attended the whole family on and off for several years.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Pace had 10 confinements in 15 years, poor thing. Not always with happy results, I'm afraid to say.
Yes, and Mr. Pace was not always a trusted helpmate.
Harry Pace. Well, where do you start? He was a Forest of Dean man.
I was wondering if you could fill in some detail on the coroner's report. Tell me, for instance, about Mr. Pace's illness last summer.
Oh, I need to consult my notes.
Of course.
Mrs. Pace brought her husband into my surgery at Colford at the beginning of May last year. He was complaining of heartburn, flatulence and biliousness and told me on 3 occasions he'd vomited blood.
So much for the chop.
Sorry?
Nothing. Go on.
Well, my initial diagnosis was gastritis. In July, I was called to the house. He'd grown much worse and had developed a worrying loss of power in his hands and feet. It sounded like peripheral neuritis, but then Mrs. Pace told me that they'd been dipping sheep that week, and he'd spent many hours practically immersed in sheep dip. It became apparent that Mr. Pace needed to be admitted to hospital.
And what was the diagnosis from the hospital?
Well, they confirmed my suspicions, that his paralytic condition was due to arsenical poisoning.
And you assumed the source of the arsenic to be the sheep dip?
Of course.
But the autopsy report...
The autopsy report raised doubts about the source of the poisoning, but none that I feel couldn't be answered.
And you'd be prepared to say that in the witness box?
Of course.
One other thing. Did Annie Pace... Did she seem to you to be a loyal and supportive wife?
Imprudently so. There was an occasion just before Christmas. Harry had taken a turn for the worse. 4 feet of snow had fallen. And Mrs. Pace came out to me, walking across the fields. She arrived at 8 o'clock in the evening. The journey had taken her 6 hours. There was, of course, nothing I could do. I had other patients. My wife offered to put her up for the night, but she insisted on returning to her husband.
6 hours?
Surely nobody could believe that a woman capable of such devotion could deliberately poison her husband.
Oh.
What is it?
Don't turn round.
What?
Kipling.
He tied her up all day and left her without food or water.
Have you finished with the interrogatories?
Here. He was a monster.
Yes.
He was cruel to the children. He threatened his wife with a razor and with a hatchet.
This is only what Annie Pace has told us, of course.
She had every right to kill him.
So you think she's guilty?
What else could she do?
This isn't coming together as much of a defense, is it?
What else can one believe? Her husband's cruelty was intolerable, but since a life of beatings and oppression does not constitute grounds for divorce, she had no alternative, though it was entirely against her nature, to become a murderess. So, what you have to do is lose the case.
Lose?
Of course. She must be found guilty.
I'm not with you.
She is found guilty, sentence is passed, the public is outraged by the inhuman injustice, the case becomes a cause célèbre.
Like Dreyfus.
And leads inevitably to a reform of your defective divorce laws. So?
Well, first of all, I have to be very clear in my own mind.
About what?
About the difference between politics and law. A barrister is a taxi driver. The client gets in the back, and there are only 2 places he can go: guilty or not guilty. Your job is to take him to one or the other by the best possible route, and not to question whether it's a fitting or morally appropriate destination. When I was a member of Parliament, I felt like a fish out of water. You know this.
But here is an opportunity to make change.
By losing a case?
Yes.
You are playing devil's advocate.
Why do you say
that?
The
only thing worse than politicians thinking they're policemen and judges is policemen and judges thinking they're politicians. Either way leads to immoderate behaviour. And besides, Annie Pace is found guilty. She becomes a cause célèbre. The divorce laws are changed. Flawless hypothesis, except somewhere along the line there is a very strong chance she'll go to the gallows.
They would not hang her.
They would.
They would not have the stomach for such a thing. The Home Secretary would not...
Joyce and Hicks wouldn't have the stomach for a hanging.
Slavery is abolished, but still a woman can be condemned to a lifetime of unimaginable cruelty with no recourse to law and no escape but death. You must lose the case.
He'll call Elton Pace.
Right, sir.
Who will swear to heaven, as he did when he interrupted the funeral, that Annie Pace is a black-hearted, two-faced murderess. But his testimony will be so transparently flawed and motives so compromised that he will leave the witness box with every word blown to the winds like thistledown and gossamer. So, no problem there. But what have we got?
Well, we've got a mob of flappers inside and outside the court, primed and ready to become an angry mob if anyone dares lay a finger on poor Annie Pace. We've got the newspapers writing reams of outrage about the villainy of Harry Pace.
Every word of which Merriman will use as regrettable, but nonetheless unquestionable proof of Annie Pace's guilt. Sympathy for Annie Pace, outrage at the way she was treated, all it does is convince everybody that nobody ever had a more powerful or more understandable motive for murder. Billy's sure she's guilty. If a man can't convince his own wife, what chance does he have of the jury?
Mind you, Mrs. Burkett is...
What?
Well...
Oh, well, yes, she is remarkably Swedish. Do you have the coroner's report?
Well, there's the snow story. The trudging through the snow, the one the doctor told you.
Mm-hmm. How does that work as a defence?
A 6-hour trudge through the snow proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Annie Pace is a saint. Devoted, patient, never contemplate harm coming to her man.
Merriman's putting up the boy, though. The son, what's his name?
Leslie Pace.
Yes, well, a 9-year-old boy who will tear out the jury's heart with tales of his father's cruelty to him and his brothers and sisters.
Exactly, sir.
And never forget that that same saintly woman who trudged through the snow to help her husband will also be the perfect mother, harbouring an even more pressing protective instinct towards her children, prepared to kill in their defence against a bully. Have you ever seen a mother hen protect her chicks against the cockerel?
No, sir.
No, neither have I. I bet Merriman has, though. I had a professor once who over sherry said that despite all the jurisprudence malarkey and the incumbit probatio qui dicit, a criminal trial is no more than a game of who can spin the best yarn. Merriman can give us a Greek tragedy. The tale of poor Annie Pace who falls victim to the dark lord of the forest, an elemental so powerful she is forced by bitter necessity to murder him. Elios, Kai Phobos, the pity and the terror. And the only possible ending to such a story is propitiation, the debt of blood paid in blood, the innocent sacrificed.
And you really believe all that?
No, of course I do. But it had you spellbound, didn't it? And that's the point. Merriman's got a Greek tragedy. What have we got?
Sheep dip?
Sheep dip.
Silence! Beatrice Annie Pace, you are charged with the willful murder of Harry Pace on January the 10th in the present year, and you stand charged with the offence on the coroner's inquisition. How say you? Do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty, sir.
Speak up.
Not guilty, sir.
Keep your chin up, girl. Silence!
Mr. Pace, I understand that it was your approach to the local constabulary that halted your brother's burial and opened the inquest into his death.
I just wanted to do right by my brother.
As we all do, I assure you. Now, am I right in inferring from your earlier evidence that you were on friendly terms with the deceased?
Yes, sir.
And with his wife?
For the most part.
And yet isn't it true that 4 years ago Mrs. Pace forbade you to enter their house?
She had no right to do that, though, did she?
She had no right
That house was my granddad's. It's family house. And the land? That's Pace land. I got as much right to be there as she has. More right.
How would you describe Mrs. Pace's marriage to her husband?
She told me she wanted to get rid of the mingy old bastard.
And did you mention to anyone else that she'd made this threat?
No.
Did you mention it to your brother? Did you tell him what she had called him?
Certainly not. He'd have gone down my neck, he would that.
If Mrs. Pace was so keen to be rid of her husband, how do you account for her efforts to get him attended by doctors?
No fear.
You mean to convey to my lord and the jury that you do not believe she did so?
No, I don't.
And what if Dr. Dupre comes into that box and swears it? Would you believe it then?
No, I should not. I got my own opinion about him.
Why do you think that Mrs. Pace entertained these ideas of killing her husband?
She said he was never out for pleasure. He was always scrapping with his sheep.
Scrapping?
Yeah. Spending time with his sheep.
You mentioned that the house and the land it stands on belong to your grandfather.
That's got nothing to do with it.
You described it as Pace land.
It is Pace land. Annie come up from some Breovels. Oh, she's not even Colford.
Now, young man, I don't want you to be frightened. Just speak up clearly so everyone can hear you in court.
Yes, sir.
Hmm?
Yes, sir.
That's very good. Now, do you understand what the truth is and what it is to tell lies?
Yes, sir.
Do you know who God is?
He is our Father who art in heaven.
Now, Leslie, can you tell us about the last time your father dipped some of his sheep? Were you there?
I was. And Teddy was too. It was the end of the summer before he went into the hospital. Daddy dipped them in a tub.
Tell me, how did he mix up the sheep dip?
He got the powder out of the kitchen to put into the water. The powder was in a packet.
And did he use it all?
No, not all of it. Daddy took what was left and screwed it up into a piece of newspaper and put it in his box downstairs. And Daddy put the dip in a bucket and mixed it up and he poured it in the dolly tub. And then he put the sheep into the tub and he pushed them down into the water with his hands.
So your father got a lot of the liquid on himself during the course of this operation?
Yes. He was fairly well wetted by the time he'd finished the lambs.
Thank you. Leslie, you have been very helpful.
A long time ago, Daddy said he was going to shoot us all with his gun. I'm only 9. I couldn't have stopped him. I'm only 9.
You're a very brave boy. Thank you, Leslie. You can stand down.
Silence. We'll adjourn to lunch, I think. All rise.
We could have done without the shoot us all with his gun outburst.
Yes.
The mother hen will protect her chickens. But the sheep dip seems to be doing us very well.
Seems so, sir. Wilcox is here.
Wilcox?
The Home Office forensic thingy.
Poisons expert. William Wilcox. I thought he wasn't available.
He'll come down from Scotland, special.
We're putting in a local doctor. They've got Wilcox. Bit worrying.
I agree with the findings of the coroner's court that the deceased died of arsenical poisoning. The minimum effective dose is 2 grains. The intestines contained 4 grains, and the liver also had a considerable presence of arsenic, 3 grains.
And this, in your learned opinion, would be entirely consistent with a prolonged contact with sheep dip?
In most cases it would, yes. It would not, however, be consistent with poisoning by the ingestion of the type sold as Battle's sheep dip, which was the preparation used by Mr. Pace.
But surely arsenic is present in that preparation?
Yes, certainly. But so is sulphur. Sulphur makes up 65% of Battle's sheep dip. No sulphur was present in the deceased's body.
But the arsenic found in the deceased's body, it was consistent with a slow build-up of poison.
A slow build-up could not have been the cause of death. At least 1 dose of pure arsenic, with no sulphur content, must have been administered within 48 hours prior to death.
Anything?
Dr. Dupre says there's a very strong possibility that the only reason no sulphur is recorded as being in the body is because they never thought to test for it when they were doing the autopsy. So if we were to get an exhumation order...
Anything else?
Well, but there's no actual proof she administered the poison.
The poison, pure arsenic, not sheep dip, was administered in the last 48 hours of his life. Do you have another suspect? We have no case.
So we changed the plea to guilty. With the weight of mitigating circumstances, she'll get off with, I don't know, but Horridge won't hang her. She won't hang.
At Leicester Assizes during the war, there was a factory girl, an unmarried mother. She'd suffocated her baby just a few minutes after it was born by tying a camisole around its mouth. I was prosecuting. And the doctor who'd attended her said it was perfectly possible that the pain she'd suffered had affected the girl's mind. She wouldn't have known what she was doing, either clumsy or possibly some sort of sleepwalking. Nevertheless, the jury found her guilty, and the judge, Pickford, you remember Pickford? He put on the black cap. They had to carry the poor woman out of the dock, screaming, not protesting her innocence. "I'm very sorry." That's what she said, looking at me, as if somehow her very existence caused me great offence, as if it was in her power to claim my forgiveness, as if it was in my power to grant that forgiveness.
I've seen him getting sentenced, and I've seen him getting hanged, and the sentence is always worse. The shock. In the war, sometimes, if they caught a deserter, they do without a trial. Just leave him alone for a bit with a loaded pistol.
No. The mother's up next.
Elizabeth Porter, Harry Pace's mother. If you remember, she remarried after her first husband died.
Yes. There was an envelope. An envelope with the documents from Somerset House, wasn't there?
Oh, right. Well, here it is. This one.
Edgar, Annie Pace is not the only person who could have administered that poison in the last 48 hours of Harry's life.
You think his brother?
We stand fast in the faith, Edgar. She won't hang. She mustn't hang. And when was the last time you saw your son, Mrs. Porter?
I saw him before Christmas.
And how was he?
He was in a terrible bad way. He was doubled up by the pains in his belly. It was heartrending to see him.
Who was there in the house to help Mrs. Pace with the nursing?
There was Doris.
Well, Doris was 11 years old. Did Mrs. Pace nurse your son devotedly?
I couldn't say.
Is it a fact that you never rendered one moment's assistance in nursing your son?
She never asked.
But you knew that she had just had a baby and that baby was sick. That's enough for one woman to cope with, isn't it?
I just want justice for my son.
Was your son rather gloomy at times?
Well, I never knew it.
Did he believe that medicine would do him no good?
When he was ill, he said medicine made him feel worse.
Would you say he was a man of strange behaviour at times?
He was a hard-working man.
Is that strange behaviour?
He didn't deserve what he got.
I regret that I have to put this question to you, but you had another son.
Yes, there's Harry and Elton.
An illegitimate son.
I might have.
Oh, please, now spare me having to go through all the details. I have his birth certificate here. That son, Sidney Reginald Pritchard Pace, was born on February the 11th, 1908. Is that correct?
I thought I was here about my Harry's murder.
I must ask you, this other son, is he living?
I don't know. I came here...
So you did not know that he committed suicide by shooting himself whilst of unsound mind?
I don't know anything about the matter whatsoever.
So you never knew there was an inquest upon his dead body on March the 22nd, 1927, a little more than a year ago?
No.
Do you really swear to that?
I do.
So you did not know he committed suicide?
Mr. Burkitt, I think we can accept that the witness says she had no knowledge of her son's suicide.
Thank you, my lord. I have no further questions. Now, Mrs. Pace, we have heard from the deceased's mother and his brother something of your husband's character. Could I ask you, in your own words, what kind of man he was?
I don't know. He was my husband.
His mother said he was a hard-working man. Would you agree with that?
Yes. He loved his sheep. It upset him terribly if anything happened to any of them. Once, when one of the ewes wandered onto the railway lines and got killed, he got so angry He came home and killed my little dog.
So we can conclude from that he didn't love all animals.
No. He could be cruel. Childish. Once he took it into his head to see how chickens would walk on one leg. So he went outside to the yard and broke one leg of each of a number of our birds to find out how they would get along. I had to wring their necks to put them out of their pain. If one of my children had tried a trick like that, I would have slapped him and sent him to bed. Sometimes he would bite the sheepdog's ears if he didn't obey him first time, and then he'd bark at them.
Your husband would bark at his dog?
It was one of his ways. Another time he made me buy him a mouth organ in Colford.
Was he a musical man?
No, not at all.
Mrs. Pace, I know this is painful to you, but can I ask you to relate the events of Christmas Day, some 2 weeks before your husband's death?
Harry had been feeling sorry for himself all day. Christmas had that effect on him. I made him a glass of cornflour and milk to ease his stomach, but he threw it on the fire. I said maybe he'd be better off upstairs in bed, and he caught hold of the fire tongs and would have taken a swing at me, but my Dorothy got in between us. So he threw the tongs down and broke the fender. Then he went and got his razor and said he was going to cut all our throats. I sent Doris out to fetch a neighbour to help me calm him down.
He was very agitated.
He always got down in the mouth, Christmas time.
So your husband's spirits were very low. Did you ever suspect that he might take his own life?
Mr. Burkitt, do I have to remind you not to lead the witness?
Point taken, my lad. No further questions.
It's still in the game.
We have to build a completely new defence on practically nothing.
They'll buy the suicide, sir. They want to buy it. And in the end, sir, it's what you said. Who can spin the best yarn, you or Merriman? And Merriman is looking very tired.
Even tired, he's formidable. Did you read his summing up for the Waterson case? Extraordinary eloquence. Stand the doctor down. No more sheep dip. But see if you can get hold of a nerve specialist. There must be some sort of local asylum.
Note for Mr. Burke. Thanks.
What's that?
Note from Merriman. He says he's spoken to Mr. Justice Horridge, and if Mr. Burkitt wishes to pursue a no-case-to-answer submission, Mr. Justice Horridge has assented to direct the jury to bring in a not-guilty verdict.
Of course there's a case to answer. Merriman's established a very solid case. Why would he throw in the towel?
Because he knows he can't win.
Of course he can win. Besides, this is Merriman, the Solicitor General. I've seen the defence bring... He's been nobbled.
What?
He's been nobbled.
Well, who would want to...
At the election next year, young women under 30 vote for the first time. There are 1,000 flappers outside this courtroom. Baldwin's in a bad enough state as it is. If he goes polling for the flapper vote as the man who sent poor Annie Pace to the gallows, he's had it. Much better. Sweep the whole thing under the carpet. Quiet word with his Solicitor General Merriman, Bob's your uncle. Nobbled.
By the Prime Minister?
Exactly.
Pity.
What?
I could see a summing up brewing.
There was a summing up brewing, yes.
Never hear it now.
No.
Could have made legal history. Best untold tale a courtroom never heard.
Huh. Nevertheless, Annie Pace goes free.
It's a fudge, though, isn't it? Not right. She wanted her name to be properly cleared. She wanted justice, and all she gets is politics.
Nobbled.
A Talk to Wives by Mrs. Pace.
This is the Express?
Yes.
I hope they paid her a very large fortune.
Why I could not run away. You've got to fight for what you've got to keep it and to make it better.
Ah.
I keep asking myself one question as I write the story, and I ask it because writing the story brings it into my mind. Why did I stay with Harry? I answer myself because I loved him. So, her advice to women in her position, women who are beaten like dogs, humiliated, is stick with it. In the name of love.
Yes.
If Anna Pace had been found guilty, the
Divorce law reform may have been raised a couple of notches on the political agenda.
How can you ever say this is law and this is politics? There is only politics.
Criminal justice is a very blunt instrument, Billy. It's designed exclusively to establish guilt or innocence.
It's like a doctor managing an epidemic bacteria by bacteria without having the curiosity to raise his eyes from the microscope and see the infected well.
You think I should go back into politics, then?
Of course.
Trouble is, 3 years ago, the electorate disagreed with you quite vehemently.
The Express says that you are the saviour of Annie Pace.
It was a no case to answer, a walkover.
Your old seat in Nottingham, how many young women work there in the lace factories? 2,000? 10,000? Most of them are between the ages of 21 and 30. All of them would have followed Annie's trial and would consider it a privilege to put an X next to the name of Norman Burkett.
You're right, of course. I'll write a couple of letters in the morning.
Linnea was very pleased with the post office set.
Oh, good. Edgar wasn't sure if she was old enough.
She drafts telegrams to the king and has stamped postage due on her white frock.
Nice to know some good came of our little trip to Gloucester, then.
In Norman Burkett and the Case of the Colford Poisoner, by Caroline and David Stafford, Norman Burkett was played by David Haig and Edgar Bowker by Tristan Gravel. Billy was Alison Pettit, Annie Pace, Claire Corbett, Elton Pace, Michael Shelford, Dr. Dupre and William Wilcox, Sam Dale, Mrs. Elizabeth Porter, Joanna Munro, and Judge Horridge was Bruce Alexander. The court clerk was Nigel Hastings, and the driver was John Biggins. The play was directed by Mark Beebe.
You admit it, here before this court of assize at Grenoble. You admit you were drunk?
No, Monsieur le President, I don't admit any such thing. We sat for 36 hours at the card table, hardly stopping to snatch a meal. We were on edge, all of us.
All of you? But all did not kill. Only one killed. You, Clutter. Tell this court of assize, why did you kill?
I was struck.
But you struck first.
A trap was set for me. I broke out of it. So would any man.
A trap? Who set the trap?
The Greek. Andreas Eleftheris, the Greek.
Let the jury of Grenoble hear about this man.
While I was staying in Paris, was it last year? Yes, 1919. I met him at Auteuil at the races. An acquaintance, I forget who, introduced us. This Greek had a stable full of horses which couldn't run and a dockyard full of ships which couldn't be insured. He was desperate for money.
Yet you dined with him as his guest that night, Clutter?
I didn't know about him then, sir. Yes, we dined at the Café de Paris. There were 5 of us. Eleftheris, Kettler, his trainer, Peyton, his handyman, an Englishman, the Comte de Rozat, and myself. During the dinner, it was suggested that in a month's time we should all go up to Eleftheris' hunting box in the Dauphiné Alps and spend a week shooting chamois.
Who suggested this?
I don't remember.
Eleftheris declares it was you who suggested it.
That's a lie. The dinner was arranged so that I should be invited. It was all a plan to rob me.
You are a rich man, Clutter.
No, monsieur. I'm not rich at all, but my wife is. No doubt they thought she'd pay.
A month later, then, on the 23rd of October, you all met here at Grenoble.
Yes.
And the next day you went up into the mountains?
Yes.
There were servants at the hunting box?
Yes.
And guides, no doubt. And beaters?
Yes.
Servants and guides and beaters must be paid, Clutter. And yet you tell me Eleftheris was desperate for money.
But they were all part of the scheme, sir. They weren't there to hunt chamois. They were there to shear a sheep. Me. And the shearing was to begin in the evening when we sat down to play cards. Myself, Eleftheris, Kettler, Peyton, and...
And the Comte de Rozat?
Yes, the Comte de Rozat, a fine nobleman. who for years had been suspected of cheating at cards.
De Rosa is dead, Clutter. You killed him.
He wasn't dead when he had to resign from the Jockey Club.
Proceed.
On the first morning, it was snowing. It was impossible to go out. And it continued to fall all that day, and that night, and the next day.
So someone proposed a game of cards?
Yes.
Who proposed it, Clutter? You?
No.
But they were your cards.
That's not true.
Do you deny you brought them to the hunting box in your luggage?
I do.
But we have the cards here, Clutter. They are English cards.
Peyton is also an Englishman. No doubt he provided them.
Oh, I see. So for 36 hours you played cards?
Yes, all the time it was snowing.
I suppose Electorus arranged the snow as well as the party. A remarkable man, Electorus. Well, after 36 hours, you caught the Comte de Rosa cheating. How cheating?
In the deal. I couldn't believe it at first. I watched and watched until I was sure.
And then you dashed the card table aside, accused him, and struck him to the ground.
Yes, I did.
And when he got up, you struck him again with a champagne bottle and killed him.
No, it wasn't like that. Peyton and Kettler seized my arms, and while they held me, de Rosa slapped me in the face. Again and again. I went mad. I must have grabbed a bottle and smashed it over his head.
And as he lay on the floor dead, you thrust the jagged bottle into his face?
I told you I went mad.
You went mad. That is all, Clutter. Call Andreas Electoros.
Andreas Electoros.
You have told us, Monsieur Electoros, of your meeting with Clutter in Paris and of the suggestion of a hunting party here in the Alps. Who made that suggestion? Clutter?
I should not like to say that.
But you have already said it, Monsieur Electoros, in your deposition.
I wish to be just. I did think it was Clutter, but I may have been wrong. Sometimes these suggestions just grow with no definite author.
It has been said, Monsieur Electoros, that you arranged this hunting party not so much to shoot chamois as to shear a sheep.
If any of us mistook Clutter for a sheep, none of us has ever seen a tiger. It was by chance we played cards, sir. The snow was falling, we had no newspapers, we were a party of 5 men cut off from the world. It was natural we should pass the time at cards.
The stakes were high?
No, at first they were quite low. But it is always the same. The longer one plays at cards, the higher the stakes grow. After 12 hours, we were playing with an unlimited rise.
And Clutter was losing?
Only towards the end. At the beginning, he won and won.
That's part of the routine.
I invite you to be silent, Clutter. Monsieur Electoros, you did not mind the stakes?
Was not happy.
Yet you made no attempt to stop the game?
I should have, I know, but... Well, a host has difficulties, especially when a guest is losing heavily. You must picture the scene, sir. 36 hours at the table, none of us were normal.
What about De Rosa? He was normal enough.
No, none of us were normal, least of all you, Clutter. No one who was normal would strike a defenseless man and beat him to the ground. Monsieur le Président, I did what I could to restore peace, of course. I called on Kettler and Peyton to hold Clutter till he had cooled down. But then, unfortunately, the Comte de Rosa became excited too. He rose and slapped Clutter's face with his open hand.
Yes, while I was held by both arms.
I do not deny it. I make no excuses for de Rosa. But what he did was nothing to what followed. That was terrible. Clutter's strength was monstrous. He flung the 2 men from him as if they had been wisps of straw. He seized the bottle by the neck and struck again at the Comte de Rosa. The bottle burst, I screamed, our guides came running in, and Clutter, he fought like a wild beast. We had to bind him with cords. It was brutal.
Stand up, Clutter. You don't deny these facts?
The facts, no, but the way that he tells them, yes, yes, yes. De Rosa struck me again and again. And he kept shouting, that is for you, pig, and that. I went mad. So would anyone.
Has counsel for the defense any questions?
Only one, Monsieur le Président. Monsieur Lefteros, where did you first see the cards that you played with?
On the table in the living room. They were there on the morning after we arrived. The morning we should have gone shooting, but for the snow.
Thank you. Monsieur le Président, I call Elizabeth Clutter. All right.
Call Elizabeth Clutter.
Elizabeth Clutter.
Elizabeth Clutter, madame. And you are the wife of the prisoner, and you have been married to him for 3 years?
That is so.
During that time, you have lived happily together?
Well, yes.
Except, of course, for those little differences which must arise from time to time between married couples.
Yes. Often they were my fault. I'm nervous and difficult.
Yes, yes. But he is not a man who flies easily into great rages.
Oh, no.
No. He has never offered you violence.
Never.
Thank you, madame.
Does the Avocat General wish to cross-examine?
Yes, monsieur. You are rich, Madame Clutter.
I wouldn't say rich. I'm well off.
And your husband has nothing.
Well...
The truth, madame. He lives on you.
Oh, I believe a man and wife should share.
Yes, yes. At any rate, it was your money he was playing with that night in the Alps. Well?
I suppose so.
Thank you. That is all.
One more question, madame. It has been suggested that the cards which were played with were actually brought in your husband's trunk. You can deny that, madame.
I'm confident that isn't true.
Thank you. Will the court please call Clutter's servant, Mong La?
Call Mong La.
Mong La! I understand that you are Burmese, Mong La.
Yes, Mr. Mong La.
You were a bearer to Mr. and Mrs. Clutter when they went to Burma on their honeymoon. You returned with them to England, and you have been Mr. Clutter's servant ever since.
Yes, Mr.
You came here to Grenoble with Mr. Clutter, but you did not go up into the mountains.
Burmese man no like snow. Could not do I stay Grenoble.
You stay Grenoble. But you did pack Mr. Clutter's bag.
Yes, Mr.
Be careful and truthful, Mong La. Was there a pack of cards in Mr. Clutter's luggage?
No, Mr.
You swear that?
Yes, Mr.
Thank you.
Mong La, was your master a man of violent temper?
Sometimes so sudden he get very angry. I am afraid, then all at once he is calm.
And was this murderous temper easily provoked?
Mr. Clutter very fastidious. I tell you, mister, he must have silk next to skin. If everything not like he want, he very angry.
Did he quarrel with his wife?
Oh, yes, mister. They not happy together.
That's a lie!
Oh, Missy Clutter want to stay home. He want to go out. Many times they argue.
Thank you.
Has the defense any further witnesses?
One only, monsieur. Colonel Sir John Strickland has offered to speak to the character of the prisoner.
Call Colonel Strickland.
Colonel Strickland! I understand, mon colonel. You commanded a company at the beginning of the war in 1914, and Clutter was one of your subalterns.
Yes.
How was his record?
Extremely good. He was a man of great physical strength and endurance. When the others tired, he was an example for them.
Did you ever know him to be guilty of violence?
Only against the enemy. A little more of that sort of violence, and we might have won the war sooner than 1918. More or less.
Thank you.
Has the prosecution any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you, mon colonel. You may go. The Avocat General will now address the jury.
And so it is, I cannot repeat too often, Monsieur, murder is murder. We are told the Comte de Rosa was a cheat, that he was forced to resign from his club. These things have been said, but not proved. But even if they were proved, that would not justify murder, and particularly brutal murder with a bottle as a weapon. To kill in that way is the act of a beast of the jungle. And for beasts of the jungle there is only a cage, or death. Death is a barbarous punishment, but this was a barbarous crime. I ask for a verdict of guilty.
And Therefore, you are asked to believe, monsieur, that they looked for a sheep to shear and found instead, I use the Greek's own word, a tiger. If the tiger killed, who was to blame? The cheat? From first to last, the cheat. He is caught in the act and struck down. What would an honest host have done? Destroyed the cards, cancelled the reckoning, and made a truce. But what did the Greek do? Called on his two bullies to hold Clutter helpless, while the cheat slapped his face. Is it so strange that Clutter's patience broke? Do you wound a tiger and then blame him if he leaps? The defense is extreme provocation, and therefore, monsieur, I ask for an acquittal.
And now it is for me, as the president of the Court of Assize at Grenoble, to explain to the jury the questions it has to answer. Clutter is accused of murder and assassination. Murder means death inflicted voluntarily and not in self-defense. Assassination means murder accompanied by premeditation and the setting of traps. You must find whether the prisoner is guilty of either of these crimes, and you must all be agreed upon your verdict. In addition, you may find extenuating circumstances, and you may find them by a majority among you. The jury will retire. The prisoner will stand. Messieurs les jurés, you are agreed upon your verdict?
Oui, Monsieur le Président.
How find you the prisoner as to the first question?
Guilty.
And as to the second?
Not guilty.
Let us be clear. You find Clutter guilty of murder, but not of assassination.
Yes, Monsieur le Président. Also, by a majority, we find extenuating circumstances.
Clutter, you have heard the verdict of the jury. Have you anything to say why sentence should not be passed upon you?
No, sir. I leave myself in the hands of the court.
Then pass me the book. By Article 304 of the laws of France, murder is punishable by death if it is preceded, accompanied, or followed by another crime. Otherwise, it is punishable by penal servitude for life, absolutely without remission. This article, again, is subject to modification by the law of extenuating circumstances, and that law applies in this case. Clutter, you are condemned to 20 years of hard labor in a penal colony with deportation to follow.
How you can bear such a jangle of awful noise.
Oh, it's not awful to me. I'm a dancer, Elizabeth. A dancer must have music.
On the stage, of course, but please, not here.
Oh, I must rehearse.
But surely not today, of all days.
Why? What's today?
The 9th of June. Surely you remember.
Oh, the trial.
Yes. 7 years ago today. Oh, I can't understand why I should be chosen to have trouble after trouble heaped on me.
You know, Elizabeth, you're worrying yourself into your grave.
Oh, my dear, the sooner the better.
You've grown morbid about it. You've made Archie Clutter into an idol.
Idols don't suffer torture. His life in Cayenne must be hideous. I've been reading some books. They say it's an awful place. A jungle riddled with fever.
But your husband was as strong as a grenadier. You've told me so over and over again. He'll live through it all, my dear, and come back to you.
No, never. Don't you remember my telling you what my servant Mong La said of him at his trial? He must always have silk next to his skin. There was the whole of Archie in that phrase. He could never have lived through these 7 years.
Worrying about him won't help. You don't sleep, Elizabeth. Your nerves are all raw. The least little thing upsets you. And all those drugs and medicines you take.
Oh, I must have something.
Oh, they're bad for you.
I couldn't live without them. They're my only help.
That's not much compliment to me.
Oh, my dear.
Haven't I given up some of my life for you, coming here and living with you in your house and trying to take you out of yourself a bit? I'm young still.
I never see you now, Corinne. You're out every night and every day.
At night I dance for my living. And I'm making a success, Elizabeth.
And your days? You spend with Leon Bachelena.
Leon and I love each other.
Oh, Leon loves no one but himself.
Oh, that's not true.
Isn't it?
Oh, I know he's no good, really. He'd drop me tomorrow if it suited him, I suppose. But even so, he loves me in his own way.
He'll break your heart, Corinne. He'll destroy you. Give him up.
It was part of our bargain, Elizabeth, that you should not interfere in my private affairs. Perhaps it was a mistake, my coming here.
No.
Or perhaps it would be better for both of us if I were to go.
No, you can't go. You can't leave me, Corinne. I'm ill. I need you.
Well, I suppose I'd better think about getting dressed.
You've plenty of time yet. You don't have to be at the club for another hour.
No, I suppose not.
Corinne, dear, you didn't really mean it about leaving me, did you?
Oh, let's not talk about it anymore now.
Corinne, there's something I want to tell you.
Oh, what?
I went to see my lawyer last week.
Yes?
Do you know why?
No.
To change my will. I've left everything to you.
To me?
Yes. So you can't leave me now, can you? Can you, Corinne? Altogether there should be about £40,000.
But what about your husband?
I don't even know if he's still alive.
But if he is...
Then, naturally, it would go to him.
You mean you want me to hold the money in trust for him?
Yes. That's to say, the capital. The income will be yours, of course. Archie's sentence still has 13 years to run. If he doesn't return to England, if there's no word of him at the end of that time, you will have everything. You'll do this for me, won't you, Corinne?
Oh, yes, of course. Oh, but really, you know that this is a lot of morbid nonsense.
Is it? Then I must tell you something. There's a man. He's been here 3 times today already asking to see me. He left a note last time. He says I shall regret it all my life if I don't see him when he calls again tonight.
Oh, what does he want? Money?
Oh, no. Look at this note.
I keep a little restaurant in Soho, the Bouillabaisse. I shall come again this evening. I'm French, so you can imagine on what subject I shall come to speak. Gaspard Rousson. Oh, Elizabeth, you think...
Yes, I know it is.
Then why don't you see this man?
I'm afraid. I know what terrible news he may bring. I'm not fit for shocks. I can't stand any more. Oh, that will be him now. Please, Corinne, see him for me, will you?
Oh, yes, if you want me to, Elizabeth.
Oh, thank you, my dear. I'm going upstairs to bed now. Will you tell Mong Lao to bring up my medicine and my sleeping draught?
Yes, I will. I hope you'll be better in the morning.
I wonder. My head's so bad and my throat's so raw I can hardly speak. Good night, dear.
Good night.
Don't stay out too late.
No, I won't. Come in.
It is your gentleman, Miss Corinne.
My gentleman?
Corinne, darling.
Oh, Leon, it's you. Oh, thank you, Mong La. You may leave us.
Yes, Miss Corinne.
Oh, Leon.
Oh, Corinne.
Oh, it's an age since I've seen you.
We had lunch today.
Oh, that's an age. Oh, kiss me again, Leon. Leon?
Yes, my sweet?
What would you do if I had £40,000?
I should love you as you ought to be loved, Corinne. I should love you magnificently.
And very publicly.
Who cares what the world knows?
You do, Leon.
You hold me so cheaply.
I know you.
And yet you love me?
Yes, and yet I love you absurd, isn't it?
Yes. Corinne,
Hmm?
I have some news for you. This will be our last drink together for a long time.
What do you mean?
I am going away.
Out of England?
Yes, back home to Spain.
Oh, you can't, Leon. You can't leave me.
I must.
Oh, but why?
There are people called creditors who are being difficult. I owe money and I have none.
Leon, it is only money, isn't it? You've no other reason for going.
No, my darling.
Well, suppose I could find some money. You'd stay?
Of course. But why talk of what is impossible?
Leon, how long would £40,000 last us?
Well, that's the second time you have mentioned that sum. Why?
Because that's what Elizabeth has left me.
Left you? But Elizabeth is still alive.
Yes.
Then the money?
I am to hold it in trust for Archie Clutter.
When will he be free again?
Well, not for 13 years, unless...
Are you expecting a caller?
Yes, I am. Wait and hear what this man has got to say. Come in.
A gentleman is come again to see Mrs. Clutter.
Show him in, Mongla. Mrs. Clutter has asked me to see him.
Yes, miss.
What do you think he wants?
I'm not sure. Shh. Here he comes.
Will come this way. The gentleman, miss.
You may go, Mongla.
Yes, miss.
Monsieur Roussank, good evening.
Good evening. You are Madame Clutter?
Mrs. Clutter is in bed. She's ill, I'm afraid. I am her close friend.
Oh, my business is very private.
It concerns her husband?
Yes.
Well, you may speak freely, monsieur. In any case, I would not wish Mrs. Clutter to hear what may be bad news.
But this gentleman...
this is Senor Leon Bachilena.
How do you do?
How do you do?
He is also Mrs. Clutter's friend.
Eh bien, I speak. First, you must know that I have a young brother, Ospel. He is at Cayenne for perpetuity. I cannot describe to you the life of the convicts there. It is a horror.
But what has all this got to do with Mrs. Clutter?
Her husband is Ospel's friend. They plan to escape.
But escape is impossible from Cayenne. Why, it is said the sharks are the jailers of Cayenne.
So it is said, and so it is. But from time to time, it happens. It is difficult, of course, and it takes money.
I didn't know the sharks had a currency.
Monsieur has a sense of humor.
This is no time for jokes, Leon.
I love my brother, mademoiselle. It is a wish and aim of my life to get him free. Next door to Cayenne in Dutch Guiana, there is a little company. They call themselves the Brethren of the Coast. They make it a business to help the convicts to escape. Always, of course, they do not succeed. But already they have got to me a letter from Ospel. Where a letter can get through, there's a chance that a man can get through. 2 men.
But it would take money.
Yes, mademoiselle. For myself with my little cafe in Soho, the Bouillabaisse, 2 ends meet, but no more. That is why I come to Madame Clutter. Such a fortune for me, such a trifle for her.
What would you call a trifle, Monsieur Roussank?
£500. No more than that.
Suppose Mrs. Clutter were to pay this money. How should she know if it would reach the Brethren of the Coast?
Or that it would even get beyond Soho?
Oh, no. The money will not be paid to me. It will be paid by Madame Clutter into a Dutch bank in Guiana.
But even so, what guarantee would she have that it would be used for her husband's escape?
Yes, that I admit is a chance she would have to take. But you will speak to Madame Clutter?
Oh, yes, of course.
Give her this letter to show I tell the truth. It was enclosed in Ospel's letter to me.
It's from Clutter?
Yes.
Very well. She shall have it.
Oh, you are very kind, mademoiselle. I go now.
Leon, ring for Mongla.
Certainly.
Perhaps tomorrow, when you have spoken to Madame Clutter, she will let me know her decision.
Oh, yes, of course. Mongla, the gentleman is leaving.
Yes, miss. This way, please.
Good night, Monsieur Roussank.
Good night, mademoiselle. Good night, monsieur.
Good night. Well.
Well, what?
There go your £40,000, my dear.
Oh, if the story's genuine.
There is this letter.
Oh, that may be a fake, too.
Elizabeth will know. She will recognize the handwriting.
I wonder what it says.
Why not open it and see?
Do you think I should?
Why not?
All right.
No. Not like that. If you tear the envelope, Elizabeth would know. She may resent it. Give it to me. Have you a round pencil?
I think there's one over here. Yes. Here you are.
Thank you. See? I insert the pencil under the flap. I roll it very carefully. Now watch. It is opening. Do you see?
You are very versatile, Leon.
Oh, one needs a knowledge of such things. What does the letter say, Corinne? Well?
It's horrible. I can't understand how men survive.
Oh, read it to me.
No. Read it yourself.
Not a pleasant letter. But genuine, I think.
Well, of course it's genuine. Roussank was right. Archie Clutter must have help if he's to get away.
And without that help?
Well, you can see for yourself how hopeless it would be.
Yes, impossible. Oh, well, here is the letter. Oh, wait. I put it back in the envelope so, and I stick it down there. You will give it to Elizabeth, and she will send the money, and in a year, Clutter will be free. Are you coming now, Corinne? Can I give you a lift to the club?
I'm not ready yet.
Then you will excuse me if I go.
This means goodbye, I suppose, Leon.
I never say goodbye. It is too embarrassing.
Oh, Leon, darling, don't leave me, please. I can't bear it. Whatever you wish I'll do, only stay with me.
Be reasonable, Corinne. I have to go. I have explained. I owe money.
Oh, wait for a week.
Oh, I dare not.
For 3 days.
Impossible.
Until tomorrow, then. At least let me see you tomorrow.
What would be the use? We would only have the same scene over again then.
Well, perhaps by tomorrow something may have happened.
What could happen?
I don't know. Something may. I'll think of something. Oh, give me till tomorrow.
Well, if you insist. Good night, Corinne.
Aren't you going to kiss me?
Oh, if you wish. Good night.
Good night. My darling. Oh, it's not fair. It's not fair. Yes? Who is it? Come in. What do you want, Mongla?
Gentleman who left just now say he leave letter for Mr. Clutter. He say it very important from Mr. Clutter. You give letter to me, please.
Well...
You give letter to Mongla.
Yes. Well, of course.
Thank you, please. I take it now to Mr. Clutter.
Mongla, wait.
Yes, miss?
Come here.
Yes, miss?
Mongla, do you never wish to go back to your own country?
I poor man, miss. Burma no good for poor man. Work in fields, all time starve.
But if you were rich...
Oh, if I are rich, I become important person in my village. I marry nice Burma girl. Very happy.
Would you like that?
Yes, miss.
What would make you rich, Mongla?
75 English pounds a year. Money arranged with Lord Chancellor's seal by a lawyer.
75 pounds a year. All right. I promise.
You write little cheat for Mongla.
No, that would be too dangerous. You'll have to accept my word.
All right. But I hear things you speak just now to Spanish gentlemen. So Missy cannot afford to cheat.
No, of course I can't. So we shall have to trust each other, Mongla. Do you know what you have to do?
Yes, miss. First, I burn this letter. Like so.
And then?
Then I forget to tell Missy Clutter about the gentleman.
And then?
Is there more for Mongla to do?
Oh, yes. Just now, Mrs. Clutter asked me to tell you to take up her sleeping draught.
Yes, miss.
So presently, we will put it on the table by her bed, close to her hand, so that if she wakes during the night and can't go to sleep again, she can reach for it and drink it without turning on the light.
Yes, miss.
Also on the table she keeps another glass, doesn't she, with disinfectant for her throat. The disinfectant is poison, so you always have to be careful, don't you, Mongla, in case the glasses should get mixed?
Yes, miss.
You understand what it is you have to do?
Yes, miss.
Now, go and get me a taxi.
Two covers on those small tables. That's right, Osbel, but this no. Osbel, remember, the silver always bright and clean. It was so last year at the Bouillabaisse, and now that we've come to this new cafe, it must always be the same, Osbel. Always bright and clean. You see?
I shall learn, Gaspard. I shall learn.
Well, tonight, I think I will put you in charge of this room, Osbel.
Not alone?
Well, I know. I give you one waiter. You shall ask him upstairs to help you.
I ask my prince upstairs?
Yes, why not, Osbel? All day long he lies on his bed upstairs, smoking his terrible cigarettes and drinking my red wine.
Perhaps he is thinking.
What of?
Of a plan?
Oh, to get his money.
Yes. And all the time you only speak one word. Corinne.
How he must hate her.
Is it to be wondered at?
And you think he will get his money from this Corinne?
Perhaps.
Yes. Oh, yes, Osbel, I'll get my money.
Yes, my prince.
Now, Gaspard Rouzon, the moment has come to be brave. Eh, Osbel? There are things to be done.
What things?
Gaspard, I want to know more about this Corinne. I want to study her.
How do you mean to do that?
I have learned that every night she dances at the Diplomats Club. Tonight, Osbel, you and I will be there.
Oh, but that is a rich man's club. You need money and the proper clothes.
That's why I say to Gaspard, the moment has come to be brave.
I do not understand.
Money, Gaspard. We need money to buy the right clothes and to take us to the club.
How much?
30 pounds?
Oh, impossible. I am a poor man.
30 pounds.
Oh, but I tell you, this is a cafe, not a gold
You
mine.
will have 30 pounds for us in half an hour.
Impossible.
Don't worry, Gaspard. We'll only be alone. Tomorrow or someday soon, you shall have it back.
So you say.
You think I'm mad, Gaspard? Well, perhaps you're right. 7 years of hell in Cayenne doesn't help one to be sane. And for a year since I left Cayenne, I've been planning this. That's why I've been lying in your bed upstairs so long, drinking your cheap wine. Heaps of ways I thought of were madman's ways, though I didn't see it at once. But I did in the end, and I cut them out. Yes, I cut them out, Gaspard, even though they were rather attractive. Now, you give me 30 pounds tonight, and tomorrow I shall have 40,000. You see this?
Latchkey.
Yeah, and it's also the key to my money box. It was thoughtful of Corinne to stay on in Elizabeth's house. It makes things so much easier for me.
Where did you get that latchkey?
It's mine, Gaspard, the key to my own front door. I've had it for 8 years.
In Cayenne?
Yes, in Cayenne too, in spite of all the clever warders. We had ways to hide things, haven't we, Osbel? Not very pretty ways, but efficient.
Oh, yes, Prince. Most efficient.
You were once, I am told, a well-known figure in London society.
I was?
Then you are not afraid if you go to this club tonight you will be recognized.
There used to be a practice for the gypsies to disfigure stolen children so that they wouldn't be known at the fairs. We don't need gypsies in these civilized days, my friend. We have Cayenne.
Right. It is true, you bear the marks of suffering. Perhaps there, too, lies a danger.
In what way?
To remain unnoticed in such a place, one must conform to a pattern. One must look a gentleman.
I am a gentleman.
Pardon the slight correction, monsieur. You were.
Don't worry, Gaspard. I can look the part still. I've been many things in these last 8 years, haven't I, Osbel?
Oh, yes, my friend.
A galley slave in a rowboat, a road maker, stark naked in the jungle, an executioner. Did you know that, Gaspard? I was an important person, I tell you. The convicts shivered when I came near them. And finally, I reached the great position. I became the custodian of the convict mortuary.
Oh, no.
You don't think that a nice profession, Caspar? It's how Ospel and I got away.
Oh, yes. We paddled out to sea through the sharks on the mortuary table.
And were picked up by the Brethren of the Coast.
Brethren of the Coast, nothing. We were picked up by a tramp steamer which was short of hands, and the captain gave us a passage so that we might work in his damned stokehold. Even so, it was easier than Cayenne, eh, Ospel?
Yes, Prince, much easier.
And your little brother came home here to England, and I went on to Burma to attend to a little unfinished business. Have no fear, Gaspar. I'll be a gentleman tonight. Now, come on, Gaspar, out with you. Get me that money.
Yes, Prince. Yes, monsieur. At once.
Good. Now, Ospel, let us drink a toast.
Yes, Prince.
A toast, little man, to 40,000 pounds.
Dances well, your Corinne.
A young woman of versatile talents, Ospel. I look forward to meeting her.
Soon she will dance to your tune, huh?
Tonight, if she's wise. Well.
You see someone?
Yes, my friend, I see someone. My old CO, Colonel Sir John Strickland. He spoke for me at my trial.
Oh, which is he?
He's just come in. The head waiter's showing him to that table right over there.
The girl with him is very beautiful, in an English way. You know her too?
After my time, I'm afraid.
I wonder who she is.
I wonder. Waiter!
Yes, sir?
The young lady with Sir John Strickland, can you tell me who she is?
You don't recognize her, sir?
I've been out of England for some years.
Oh, I understand, sir. It's the Lady Ariadne Fern.
Mm-hmm. And who's she?
Oh, a very much photographed young lady, sir. Her pictures in all the fashionable magazines. A very charming young lady, if I may say so, sir.
Are they engaged?
Not to my knowledge, sir. In fact, it's the first time Sir John's been here for at least 18 months. I understand he's just returned from abroad, sir. He's been hunting in Burma.
In Burma, eh? Well, that's quite a coincidence, Ospel.
Oh, yes, my friends.
What was he hunting, waiter? Tiger?
I couldn't say, I'm sure, sir. Will that be all, sir?
Yes, thanks. Here. That's for your trouble.
Thank you, sir.
I wouldn't want people to think I was inquisitive. You'll forget this conversation took place.
Certainly, sir. I've forgotten it already.
It's too bad you're not a beautiful woman, Ospel. I'd ask you to dance.
It would be an honor, my prince.
However, let's drink. Wait up.
Huh?
Champagne.
Care to dance, Ariadne?
Not unless you particularly want to. It's so long since I've seen you. Let's just sit and talk.
Oh, nothing I'd like better, more or less.
After all, you've been away for 2 years, haven't you?
I suppose I have, more or less.
And you only wrote to me once. Why?
Oh, various reasons, more or less.
If you say more or less again, I'll run screaming into the street. It's a perfectly idiotic phrase.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, why have you been away for nearly 2 years?
Well, I like traveling.
Lie number 1, my dear.
And I adore the East.
Lie number 2.
And I'm mad about shooting.
Lie number 3.
No, that's true. More. I mean, it's like this. When a girl's troubled, she goes out and buys a new hat, doesn't she?
More or less.
Well, when a man's troubled, he gets a gun and kills something. It's a proof of our higher civilization.
So that's it, my dear man. You were troubled.
Well, more... I mean, yes.
Why?
Oh, well, if you want to know. Because 43 shouldn't mate with 23, when there are any number of highly desirable 28s and 29s clamoring for the privilege.
What you going to do now, then? Run away again?
I don't know. That'd be rather pointless, I suppose.
And perfectly idiotic.
Oh, well, anyway, don't let's talk about me. What have you been doing all the while I've been away?
Oh, the usual things at the usual times. Life in London's been pretty boring during 1927 and 28. Really, if it weren't for Corinne...
Corinne? Oh, yes, of course. That girl dancing here tonight.
That girl dancing here tonight? Oh, don't be antediluvian. But even the tigers in the jungle have heard of her.
There's more truth in that than you know.
Oh? Oh, well, anyway, she's my dearest friend.
Do you mean that?
Yes. People say unkind things about her, I know, but most of it's jealousy. She's very lovely and very successful.
Well, I'm sure no one disputes that.
I want you to form your own opinion of her. That's why I've asked you here tonight to meet her.
Ariadne, I know you so well. I know how intensely loyal you are and how you hate gossip. But before I meet Corinne, there's one thing I feel I must tell you.
What's that?
When I was in Burma, I heard an ugly story about her. Apparently something had happened after I left England. At that time, Corinne was living in South Audley Street with a woman called Elizabeth Clutter.
Yes.
Did you know her then?
No, we met afterwards.
You're aware, of course, that Elizabeth Clutter's husband is, or was, a convict in a French penal settlement.
Yes.
Elizabeth Clutter died suddenly one night?
Yes. She poisoned herself. It was an accident.
Apparently there are some people who doubt that.
It was an accident. There was never any question of anything else. The coroner's verdict was quite clear.
Elizabeth Clutter left everything she had to Corinne.
Yes. Well, Corinne had been very good to her.
And the husband?
Well, naturally, Corinne agreed that if he turned up, she'd hand it over to him.
If he were to appear, do you think she would?
Well, I'm sure she'd want to, but...
But what?
I've an idea most of it's gone.
Gone?
Yes. You see, Corinne has, well, rather expensive tastes, and... Well, then, of course, there's Leon.
Who's he? Where's he come in?
Oh, Leon Batulier. He's Spanish. They're in love with each other.
Anyway, between them, Corinne and Senor, whatever his name is, have more or less ploughed their way through Elizabeth Clutter's legacy,
Yes.
Suppose Archie Clutter comes back and demands his money. What will Corinne do?
I shouldn't think there's much chance of that. There's no certainty he's alive.
Oh, he's alive, all right. I can tell you that.
How do you know?
I've seen him.
What do you mean? He's been freed from prison?
I mean he's escaped.
But he's not here in England.
I don't know where he is now.
You're quite sure?
Quite. I knew this man, Clutter. I knew him well. He was a subaltern in my company during the war. A man of great physical strength and of deadly purpose.
What are you trying to tell me?
I'm trying to say that if Clutter comes back here and demands his money and finds it gone, he's not going to sit down and take it like a lamb.
You mean Corinne may be in danger?
Yes. And so may anyone else who takes her part, my dear.
But this is terrible. We must warn her, John. I'm sure she hasn't the faintest idea.
Ariadne!
Oh, here comes Leo.
Ariadne, my dear, how are you?
Oh, Leo, I didn't expect to see you.
Corinne phoned me to say you are bringing an old friend to the club. I have been with her in her dressing room. She says she will join us in 2 minutes.
Good. Leo, may I present Colonel Sir John Strickland? John, this is Senor Bachiliana.
Ciao.
How do you do? Won't you sit down?
You are very kind. We have heard much of you, Sir John, from Ariadne.
Oh, really?
You have been shooting lions in Malaya.
Well, actually, it was tiger in Burma.
Oh, you must forgive me. I do not understand about these things.
So, I suppose you don't.
Leo isn't really the outdoor type.
So I rather gathered.
Oh, here comes Corinne now. Darling, you're so quick.
I do apologize for keeping you waiting so long.
Oh, that's all right. Corinne, I want you to meet a very old and dear friend of mine, John Strickland.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Ariadne talks of you so often, I feel as though we're old friends already. Well, let's all have a drink.
Yes, there's champagne here. Allow me.
Thank you.
Drink quickly and have another, Corinne.
Oh, why this urgent haste?
Well, I've an idea you're going to need it. You too now.
I don't think I understand.
Colonel Strickland has news for you both, and it's not very good news.
News of what?
Look here, Ariadne, don't you think...
I'd much rather you told Corinne now.
Oh, just as you please. Sit down, both of you. Now, as you probably know, Miss...
Call me Corinne.
Oh, thank you. As you know, Corinne, I was recently in Burma.
Oh, yes.
I'm rather fond of hunting. At least I did a little while I was there. Shortly before I left for home, I was at a place called Magoke. The district superintendent of police, a man named Thorne, told me of a tiger that had been terrifying the neighboring villages. Carried off a girl and 2 children. The head man of one of the villages had also been taken, or at least so it was assumed. His body had been found badly mauled, the neck broken, and the evidence suggested the tiger had been interrupted before he could dispose of his prey.
Oh, this is very unpleasant and gruesome, Sir John.
Oh, forgive me, I shouldn't tell the story at all if it weren't necessary.
Please go on.
Thank you. Well, I was asked if I'd hunt the tiger. I said I would. There was a clearing he was known to haunt. The natives built me a mashan, that's to say a small platform, in a large tree on the edge of the clearing. And at nightfall I took up a position on this platform and waited with my loaded rifle. Well, nothing happened till towards morning. Then there came a smashing of the undergrowth. I raised my rifle, but I never fired it. For the figure which emerged into the clearing was a man.
A man?
You mean a native?
No, a white man. I don't know whether he'd gone native or animal or what. For a moment he stood there, half-clad, his eyes glistening in the moonlight, a gaunt giant, lean with the hunger of years. He seemed to me like a Greek god gone wrong, more or less. He'd been a handsome man once, and now his face was a ruin, mauled and ravaged by suffering and misery and hatred.
Did you speak to him?
No, I was so startled I could do nothing. Before I'd regained my self-possession, he'd gone.
Back into the jungle?
Yes.
What happened then?
As soon as it was dawn, I returned to Magoke.
But didn't you get your tiger after all?
No. No other tiger passed that way that night.
If you will forgive me, Sir John, I still fail to see what this has to do with Corinne.
This head villager I told you of, the one whose body they found, was named Mong La.
Mong La?
Yes. He'd lived for some years in England. You knew him, I believe.
Yes, sir. Very well. He was the servant of a great friend of mine. Soon after she died, he went home.
Yes, Mong La returned to Burma a wealthy man. Wealthy by Burmese standards, anyhow. In fact, there was a certain amount of suspicion about him in some quarters. People wondered how he came to have so much money.
He was a very careful man. He saved nearly all his wages every month.
Yes, well, I dare say that could explain it.
I, too, knew Mong La. But in any case, what does it matter? You say he is dead.
Oh, yes, he's dead, all right. I asked to see his body. And I'm satisfied the natives were wrong. My belief that Mong La was not killed by a tiger, but by another man.
The one you saw in the jungle?
Yes. You see, later, much later, I realized who that man was.
Who?
His name was Archie Clutter.
Clutter?
That is absurd.
But how... did you know him?
I knew him well.
Well, you may have been mistaken.
I wish I could believe that.
You're positive it was he?
Yes.
But it is impossible. He is a prisoner in Cayenne.
He was a prisoner in Cayenne. It's obvious he escaped by some means and made his way to Burma.
But why?
Well, perhaps to find Mong La and even scores with him. You see, Mong La's evidence of the trial hadn't been altogether in his master's favor.
Then if he killed Mong La, it means he didn't speak to him first.
I don't think we can assume that.
From Cayenne to Burma is almost as far as from Burma to here?
Almost.
And he may even be in England now.
He may well be.
I think if you will excuse me, I must go now.
Pull yourself together, Leon.
But don't you understand?
Oh, for heaven's sake, he's not here in this club.
He may be.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. You know, of course, Sir John, that I have some reason to fear Archie Clutter.
Yes.
I told Sir John I thought you'd spent most of the money. I hope you don't mind.
Well, of course not, but it's only part of the truth. The fact is, we've spent it all, Leon and I, between us.
He'll kill us. He'll kill us both. I must leave England at once. I must go home to Spain.
What about me?
I have no money for two, Corinne. You know that.
Oh, no. Leon.
Sir John will look after you, won't you, Sir John? You must try to understand. It's impossible for me. Well, if you will excuse me. Good night. Good night, all.
Leon, come back. Oh, my God.
Let him go, dear. He's not worth it.
I say, don't you think, more or less,
Yes, it's time we all went. Please, Corinne.
I'm sorry. I knew it would end, but I didn't think it would be quite as abrupt as this.
Oh, it's my fault, more or less. I shouldn't have told you the story till you were alone.
He'd have found out sooner or later, and then he'd have gone away anyway.
Oh, he'll come back, I'm sure.
Never.
You don't really mean he will go home to Spain?
He'll be on the first plane tomorrow, unless you can get one tonight.
Well, I'll be damned.
Are you ready, Corinne?
Yes.
Come on, then. Let's get out of this place.
Look, my prince. They are going now.
Spell, finish your drink. We have work to do.
Leon, how could you? How could you?
Who's there?
Don't scream, little Corinne.
Who are you?
Don't you know?
No, it can't be. It can't be.
It is Corinne. Archie Clutter has come home. I said don't scream. You see, screaming might bring the police, and you wouldn't want that any more than I would. If you have to die, better drown in your bed than swing on the gallows. Now, if I take my hand away from your mouth, will you promise to lie quiet? Nod your head. That's a sensible girl. Yeah. Here, drink this glass of water. Better?
Yes.
Good. Now we'll talk. 18 months ago, you murdered my wife.
Oh, no.
Well, let's not split straws. Mong La murdered her on your instructions.
That's not true. You've got to believe
Corinne, it'll save time if you stop denying what we both know to be the facts. You see, Mong La told me everything before he died.
Oh, he was lying. I swear he was.
He had no reason to lie. On the contrary, he was under the slight misapprehension that if he told me the whole truth and all the truth, he might save his miserable life.
So, it was you, and not the tiger.
Yes. But how... Oh, of course, yes, Strickland. He was in Burma recently, so he knows too, does he?
He guessed.
So that makes us both murderers, Corinne. I killed Mong La, and you killed my wife. Now, I could forgive you that. In fact, I could almost applaud it, but you also tried to murder me.
No.
There was a letter telling Elizabeth to send money to a certain address in Dutch Guiana.
I didn't know of any letter.
It was handed to you personally by a friend of mine, Gaspar Rouzan. In fact, Gaspar's little brother, Ospel, is here with me now. Come in, Ospel.
Good evening, mademoiselle.
Don't be alarmed. He's a harmless little man. You wouldn't hurt Corinne, would you, Ospel?
Oh, no, my prince.
Now, let's get back to the letter, shall we, Corinne? You destroyed it.
No. It was Mon La.
On your orders, which amounts to the same thing. That money was to buy my escape.
Our escape?
Yes, Ospel. It was to be our passport to freedom, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And when you, Corinne, destroyed the letter, you thought and hoped you were condemning us to death. But it didn't work out that way. We're tougher than you thought, aren't we, Ospel?
Yes, my prince.
But we're also very generous, aren't we, Ospel?
Oh, yes, my prince.
Could kill you, but we haven't. In fact, if you're sensible and do as we say, we may even forgive you the letter.
What is it you want?
I want my money, Corinne, £40,000.
Elizabeth left it to me.
To hold in trust for me, the money. Now give it to me and we'll let you go.
I can't.
Corinne, I am not a patient man.
But I tell you, I can't.
Why not?
It's spent.
What?
She makes a joke.
It's gone, all of it.
You and Bachelena?
Yes.
Is this the truth, Corinne? Now, don't lie to me, I warn you, don't lie.
I swear it's true.
Good God! What shall I do? 8 years I've waited for this, and 7 of them a slave under a brass sky with
Knights in a cage, 40 of us. Beasts! Stifled, fighting, sweating, filthy.
But I knew I'd escape to somewhere cool, with a room to myself, and clouds, and snow. Yes, snow.
And now, my room in the cool, you've drunk it up and eaten it and gambled it. You and your Spaniard, I could kill you now, this minute, with my bare hands.
Gently, my friends, gently. Let us think.
Yes, Ospel, let us think. Yes, there must be something left, something. There's this house.
It's mortgaged for all it can stand.
Jewels, you must have jewels.
A few small ones.
Where are they?
In the box on the dressing table.
Go and take them, Ospel.
Yes, my friend.
And there must be other things. Clothes, furs.
I'll sell those for what they'll fetch.
And the stuff in this house, the furniture and so on.
I'll sell that too.
I don't suppose the lot will bring in over 1,000.
The jewels will not bring a quarter of that sum.
I told you there were only a few small ones.
These are all you have?
Yes, I'll get you money somehow. I will. I swear I will.
How?
My dancing. You shall have all I earn, everything.
Oh, yes, for a week or two, and then you'll be off to America or somewhere, and I'd have to stoke my way after you. No, you've got to get it now.
I can't.
Lie still. Lie still, will you? Let me think.
You have rich friends. That woman you were with at the club tonight.
What, Ariadne?
Yes, she's rich.
Oh, she hasn't a farthing.
That's a lie.
It's true. She has a small income from her father's estate, enough to live on, nothing more.
Mm-hmm. What about her lover, Strickland?
He's not her lover, not in the sense you mean.
Let's not quibble about words. He's in love with her.
Yes, I think so.
Strickland's a rich man.
He wouldn't give money for me.
No, but wait a minute. He'd give it for her. All that he had, and all that he could borrow on the top of that if he thought she was in any sort of danger, wouldn't he?
I don't know.
Wouldn't he?
Yes, I suppose so.
Yes, that's how we'll get it, through that friend of yours. Wait a bit. She has a car?
Yes.
There's only one thing to do now. I'll telephone the police, and you must tell them at once.
No, not the police.
What?
Oh, please. There must be some other way.
Corinne, if we're to see this through, Ariadne and I, we must know the truth.
But you do know it.
All of it?
I don't know what you mean.
Is it only Clutter you're afraid of? Or is there something else, too?
Well, what else could there be?
That's what I'm asking you. You see, I've got to be sure.
Sure of what?
Sure that what you're afraid of is the wild beast of the jungle and not the law.
No, of course not.
You see, when I was in Burma, there were certain rumors.
Rumors? What rumors?
Well, about Mong La, for instance. It was thought he'd been mixed up in something rather discreditable over here, and that he'd been paid well to leave England. You know nothing of this?
No. Why should I?
Now, we're not judges, Corinne. We want to find a way out for you if we can. But my trouble's this. Archie Clutter made a long, and for a man without money, a difficult journey to reach Mong La, didn't he?
Yes.
Well then, answer me this. What was the information, dangerous for you, which Mong La gave to Archie Clutter?
Obviously, Mong La told him nothing.
Then are you telling me that Archie Clutter worked his way half across the world just to wreak vengeance on Mong La for the things he said at the trial? I doubt it.
Clutter may be mad, John.
Yes.
Well, if so, he's all the more dangerous, isn't he?
Yes, I see. I'm sorry, I'm only trying to understand this thing, more or less, that's all. Because if we're going to fight Clutter, we must try to put ourselves in his place, see things from his point of view.
We are going to fight him, aren't we?
Of course.
And without the police?
Well, if you insist, Corinne, yes.
Oh, thank you.
Now, let's see. He's in the dark, isn't he? Moving at his pleasure, choosing the moment to strike.
Oh, that's what so terrifies me.
Yes. Then if he's in the dark, we'll take to the shadows, more or less, too.
Well, how can I do that?
Well, easily.
But I'm well known here in London as a dancer, and
I'll tell you my plan. I'll lend you a house I bought a year ago. Nobody knows of it yet.
Clutter would find it out.
Even so, he couldn't follow you there.
Why not?
It's in France.
Oh, Corinne, don't you see? The one country into which Archie Clutter daren't follow you.
Exactly. Let that escaped convict from the French penal settlement set foot in France, and he'd be rearrested on landing.
Oh, John, it's a wonderful idea of yours. Oh, only you'd have to throw up your engagement at the club, Corinne.
Oh, she can plead illness.
Oh, but I've no money.
We can manage that.
Oh, that gives me an idea, too.
I'm afraid of your ideas, Ariadne.
No, seriously. I'll go with Corinne.
Oh, Ariadne, please, will you?
Yes, and I tell you what we'll do. We'll take my little motor car across.
But your engagement's in London.
Oh, as if they mattered now.
Have you both got passports?
Yes.
Good. Well, I'll get your tickets now, and you can cross first thing tomorrow morning.
Yes, but wait a minute, John. Where is this house of yours?
Oh, I haven't told you yet, have I?
No.
It's in the south of France, close to Avignon. Lovely old place. Set back in a small park that runs down to the River Rhone. The Villa Laure. A married couple look after it for me, Pierre and Denise Beauchamp. They live at the lodge by the entrance gates, a few 100 yards away.
Madame Beauchamp.
Yes, mademoiselle. I wish you would call me Denise.
Denise? Well, I will. Denise, tell me, how far is Orange from here?
About 30 kilometers, mademoiselle.
That's nearly 20 miles. It's 7 o'clock now, and the circus starts at 8. We're going to be awfully late. Ariadne?
Yes, dear?
Do hurry, we'll be late.
I shan't be a minute now.
Oh, why we have to go all that way to a circus, I can't imagine, Denise. It probably won't even be a good one.
Oh, but it is, mademoiselle. Pierre and I went last year, and it was magnificent. And this year...
Will you draw the curtains, please, Denise?
But certainly, mademoiselle.
It's dark so quickly here in Avignon.
Forgive me, mademoiselle, but I have noticed several times you are a little nervous here.
A little, perhaps.
But there is nothing to fear. The neighbors are good people.
Neighbors? Well, there isn't one within a mile of us. We could all be murdered. Not a soul would know.
What a thought. The park wall is high, and besides, my Pierre, he has a gun. He would protect you.
But even your lodge is a quarter of a mile from here. If I'd known it would be like this. So big. So lonely.
Oh, voyons, mademoiselle.
It's the silence I can't bear, Denise. It frightens me.
Oh, mademoiselle, I lived in the towns. Now when Pierre and we go into Marseille, the people and the traffic and the noise are more than we can bear. So we are always happy to be home. Ah, there is Pierre now with me lady's car. You will be late tonight, mademoiselle?
I expect so.
I will tell Pierre to leave open the gates of the park.
No, lock them.
But you will then have to ring, and Pierre would then have to get up and open them.
I said lock them.
Yes, mademoiselle.
Mademoiselle, the car is ready in the courtyard.
Thank you, Pierre.
I have brought some letters and a telegram.
A telegram?
It is addressed to my lady.
Oh, never mind. I'll see what it is. It may be something important. The moment you receive this, both drive into Avignon and stay the night at the Hotel de l'Europe. Wait for me there. This is urgent, Strickland. You found this at the lodge, Pierre?
Oui, mademoiselle.
When did it come?
How can I say? Once my wife and I have left the lodge in the morning, we do not see it again till evening.
But it was sent from London last night. It's probably been lying in your lodge all day.
I'm sorry, mademoiselle. I was not to know. The messenger should have brought it here to the house. I hope it was not of importance.
Pierre?
Mademoiselle?
You were working in the park this afternoon?
I was in the garden.
You saw no strangers?
Strangers?
A tall man and a short man.
No, mademoiselle. What should strangers be doing in our park?
No, of course not. They wouldn't come till after dark.
I do not understand, mademoiselle.
No, Pierre, you wouldn't understand.
Mademoiselle, I have left out a cold supper for you both. Will that be all now?
Yes, thank you, Denise. Good night.
Good night. Pierre, allô, viens vite.
Oui, je viens. Good night, mademoiselle.
Good night, Pierre. The moment you receive this, both drive into Avignon and stay the night at the Hotel de l'Europe. Wait for me there. This is urgent, Strickland. Ariadne? No, I'll keep this to myself.
Are you calling, Corinne? I'm just coming. Sorry I've been so long. I've had the most frightful trouble with my head. Why, Corinne, what's the matter?
Matter?
You look as though you've seen a ghost.
Oh, nonsense. I'm all right. Ariadne, do you mind awfully if I don't go with you tonight?
Of course not, but
I've just had a letter.
Oh, is the post in?
Yes, Pierre brought it from the lodge. These are for you.
Oh, thanks. Oh, nothing from John. He is a beast not to have written. You were saying, dear, you just had a letter?
Yes. Some friends of mine. The Mannerings.
Mannerings?
I don't think you've met them. They're from Liverpool. They're motoring to Italy and are staying the night at Avignon. They want me to dine with them.
But how did they know you were here?
I wrote to them.
What? You wrote to them, telling them where we are?
Well, you don't mind, do you, Ariadne?
Oh, no, of course not. Oh, well, I'll drop you at Avignon.
No, it's out of your way.
Oh, only a couple of miles.
No, it's late already. You'd miss half the circus. Unless you would like to change your plans, too, and come along with me. I'm sure my friends would love to have you.
No, I wouldn't miss the circus for anything. Besides...
Well?
Well, an evening away from each other won't do us any harm, will it?
No. We are getting a little on each other's nerves. Cooped up here together.
Yes, I think we are. Well, I'll wait up for you if I'm back first.
No, don't do that. Just leave the door on the latch.
Leave the door on the... Oh, very well. I'm sure you'll be all right about getting into Avignon, I mean.
Of course. I'll phone for a car.
All right, then. Good night. I'll tell you about the fat lady in the morning.
Good night, Ariadne. Now I'll phone the station at once. What's the number? 49. Hello? Donnez-moi le numéro 49, s'il vous plaît. Hello? La gare? Parlez-vous anglais, monsieur? Oh, thank you. Would you tell me, please, what time the next train leaves for Marseille? Marseille.
I shouldn't bother, Corinne. Weren't you expecting us?
Why no,
Osbel, you may come in now.
Yes, my friends. Good evening, mademoiselle.
Her ladyship drove off only a few moments ago. We were just too late to stop her. Where was she going?
To Orange. To the circus.
Is that the truth?
Yes.
And she'll be coming back here tonight?
Yes.
What time?
I don't know, but before midnight.
Why didn't you go with her?
I made up my mind to get out of here tonight. I was going to Marseille, and then I don't know where. Somewhere on the Riviera, perhaps.
Why?
Because I knew you were coming.
How did you know?
Well, there was a telegram this evening.
From Strickland?
Yes.
I see. So he's tracked us out of England. So? And if you knew about this, Ariadne must know it too. Which means you lied when you said she was coming back.
No, she doesn't know.
Corinne, be careful.
I swear to you she doesn't. I opened the telegram. I didn't show it to her. I have it here in my pocket still. See for yourself if you don't believe me.
Why didn't you tell her, Corinne?
Oh, don't you see? I was helping you.
Oh, helping me?
Yes. I knew you didn't want me. It's Ariadne you want, isn't it? For a ransom. So I thought if I went away...
You'd betray your friend. Only Osbel and I happened to arrive a little earlier than you'd expected, and so we've upset your plan. Perhaps the lady would like us to withdraw for half an hour, Osbel.
I have no doubt of it, my friend.
Sit down, Corinne.
Oh, please. I'm of no use to you.
Sit down. Are you alone?
Yes.
Servants?
But they've gone back to the lodge.
Yes, we saw them. They're the only two?
Yes.
Look after her a moment, Osbel. I'll make sure she's not lying. Now, take care. She's a cunning little slut.
Yes, I'll take care.
You're Osbel Roussank, aren't you?
Ah, you remember Osbel now, huh? But the time to have remembered Osbel was when Osbel was rotting in Cayenne.
Osbel, please. You'll let me go, won't you? It isn't me you want after all.
You say that to my friend, huh? Perhaps he listen, perhaps not.
I'm talking to you. If you let me go, you shall have money, I promise you.
You have no money. You say so yourself.
I can arrange it, though. I have a brother. Yes, he'll pay you.
How much?
All he has, and everything I earn. Only let me go.
I should have to discuss it with my friend.
No, but before he returns, please, Osbel.
I tell you something, mademoiselle. In Cayenne, there was only one sin, and that was treachery. And the knife punished it. Do you think I would betray that prince? I would rather die.
What's he ever done for you?
When we floated out to sea on a table, I saw a shark turn over on its back within a foot of me. And my friend, he drove his paddle into its mouth and saved my life. Now, hold your tongue.
Ospel, we could go away together.
I said, hold your tongue.
Well, it seems she's told the truth for once. The house is empty.
I've never lied to you, ever.
You hear that, Ospel? Corinne has a sense of humour. It's very rare amongst dancers, I'm told. Her ladyship will be back about midnight, you say?
Yes.
That leaves us hours to spare, even after we've dealt with you.
After you've dealt with me?
Yeah. You don't imagine we're going to let you get away with it a second time, do you?
I've done nothing.
You hear that, Ospel? The lady protests she's done
In
nothing.
fact, I've helped you.
Better and better, Ospel. She's helped her.
But I have. I deliberately didn't tell her about the telegram, so she'd come back here for you to find.
Not to help us, Corinne. That was to save your own beautiful, treacherous neck. Hear ye! Hear ye! Hear ye! The court of assize is in session.
He's mad.
The prisoner will stand. Stand up, Corinne. Silence in court. The avocat general will speak. That's you, Ospel.
Oh, yes, my prince. What shall I say?
Oh, never mind. I'll say it for you.
The avocat general claims that the prisoner, having had the opportunity to send money to the Brethren of the Coast, left Archie Clutter and Ospel Roussanc to rot in Cayenne. The avocat general claims the penalty of death.
Death?
What do you say to that, Corinne? What? No answer? Answer me this, then. Is it true, Corinne, that at 2 o'clock on the morning a fortnight ago, Archie Clutter and Ospel Roussanc paid you an unexpected visit?
Yes.
And did you, Corinne, promise Clutter you would say nothing of this visit to anyone at all?
I did. Oh, but I kept my word.
Did you? And did you bolt 2 days later with so much secrecy that had not the brilliant Clutter followed your heavy luggage to the station and noted the address to which it was dispatched, he might never have discovered you?
But I hadn't a doubt you'd find us out. I was sure you'd follow.
Even into France? What have you to say to that, prisoner? The court will observe she does not answer. Gentlemen of the jury, you will now consider your verdict. You have 3 questions to answer. Is the prisoner guilty? Was there premeditation in her guilt? Are there mitigating circumstances? You must agree by unanimity on the prisoner's guilt. You may, by a majority, demand mitigating circumstances. Well, has the jury agreed upon its verdict?
Yes, sir.
The answer to the first question is...
Guilty.
Bravo. To the second?
Guilty.
Bravo. To the third?
Well, as the prisoner has tonight repented and
placed at our disposal.
The Lady Ariadne, the jury grants her
mitigating circumstances.
Yes.
You hear that, Corinne?
Oh, then you'll let me go.
Do you throw yourself on the mercy of the court?
Yes.
A book or spell?
Yes, my prince. Here.
Thank you. Flaubert. The crimes of murder, treachery, and theft, not to mention deceit, of which the prisoner stands convicted, are punishable by the following penalties. Under Article 92, page 215 of the novel, Madame Bovary, the prisoner may be sentenced to death, with every sort of harrowing torture that the minds of 2 convicts can devise. Under paragraph 3, however, of page 36, a verdict of mitigating circumstances gives great latitude to the judge. The prisoner is sentenced to be locked up for the night in a secluded part of the house where she can communicate with no one.
Please, won't you let me go now?
And lie in wait at the park gates to warn Ariadne?
No, I wouldn't. I want this pursuit to end. Don't you see that? I want it to end tonight.
You shall have your wish, Corinne. It will end tonight. Now, what's behind this door?
The stairs.
And the bedroom?
Yes.
Come with me, Corinne.
No, you needn't lock me away. I give you my word.
Come with me, Corinne.
What's that you have in your hand?
A cord.
Oh, no.
Unlike yourself, I always keep my word. I warned you what would happen if you tried any tricks.
But you said just a minute ago, you said...
The court has revised its verdict.
Oh, you don't mean you can't...
Go into the park, Ospel. I'll join you later, and we'll wait there for Ariadne.
Yes, my prince.
And now, Corinne, my little prisoner, the moment has come to be brave.
No, No.
John, what on earth are you doing here?
I've been waiting at these park gates for an hour, more or less. Thank God I stopped you in time.
Why are you here at all? I thought you were still in London.
Didn't you get my telegram?
Telegram, no.
I sent it late last night. Pierre told me he gave it to Corinne with the letters.
To Corinne?
Anyway, there's no time to lose. Somehow, Clutter and Ospel slipped through our fingers. I suppose they'd find out your address and had taken a chance to re-enter France. So I chartered a plane and flew here. Now listen, Ariadne. A lot's happened that you know nothing about. You better prepare yourself for a shock.
Is it something to do with Corinne?
Yes, she's dead.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, my dear. I should have told you more tactfully.
How did it happen?
Clutter?
He's here.
Yes, with Ospel. They found her soon after you'd gone.
Oh, and they killed her?
Yes.
Oh, how horrible.
You see, I only reached Avignon this evening. When there was no sign of either of you at the hotel, I came straight here. Pierre and Denise told me you'd gone to Orange, and that Corinne was still in the house. I felt instinctively then that something was wrong, so I went up to the house, and that was how I found her.
How you found poor Corinne?
Yes.
And Clutter, what about him?
Except for Corinne, the house was empty. So he and Ospel must be in the park somewhere.
Waiting for me?
Yes.
Oh, thank God you came. Have you called the police?
No.
Oh, but surely...
No, Ariadne. You see, these two men are like beasts. They are beasts. They live by night. The darkness is their friend. If I called the police, these men would be lost in the shadows and never be seen again. No, I must lure them into the open somehow.
But not alone, John. They're 2 to 1. Well, surely at least Pierre could help you.
Not even Pierre. I must find some way to trick them, and I must do it alone.
I could help, John.
You?
When natives hunt a tiger, don't they sometimes tether a lamb in an open clearing and lie in wait?
Yes, more or less, but...
Let me be the lamb.
How do you mean?
Well, you say they're not in the house.
No?
But if you could tempt them in there, away from the darkness of the park... Don't you see, John? All I have to do is drive up to the house as if I were aware of nothing, go inside, and they'll come in after me. But you'll be there already waiting for them.
No, it's absurd.
But there'll be no danger.
Wouldn't there? Sometimes the tiger reaches the lamb before the hunters can fire.
Not with you as the hunter, John.
No, I can't permit it.
Please.
I mean, if anything were to go wrong, more or less, I'd never forgive myself.
But if it's the only way...
No. I'd rather they went free. Don't you see, Ariadne? I can't do it. I love you too much.
I love you too, John.
You do?
Of course. I always have.
But I'm an old man, more or less.
And that's why you went off to shoot things?
Well, yes.
Oh, John, you fool, you adorable fool. But don't you see, we're both in this together now, more so than ever. So let me start the car and drive up to the house.
Very well. But give me just a moment or two to go on ahead of you.
All right.
Now, drive in slowly through these park gates as if nothing had happened. Then leave the car and go into the house. I'll be there, waiting for you. And for them.
Good hunting, my darling. Now.
Ariadne, is that you?
Yes, John.
I'm over here. Leave the lights off. Now do exactly as I tell you. Is that clear?
Yes.
Go over to the curtains at the long windows and draw them apart. Now unlatch and open one of those windows. Only one. Open both the shutters. Now listen very carefully. Remember, they can see you now standing in that window. Without any appearance of haste, go to the light switch and stand by it. When I say, now, like that, switch on the lights and keep back. Is that quite clear? Shh, they're coming.
Good evening, Lady Ariadne.
Oh, you.
2 gentlemen from Cayenne desire your better acquaintance. Ospel, Bow to the lady.
Good evening, mademoiselle.
Now.
Hey, look out, there's a trap!
You, Strickland.
Oh, my plans! My plans! Oh, you've killed him! Oh.
Now then, Roussanque, up with your hands.
John! John!
No, don't move, Ariadne, yet. The jungle has 1,000 tricks.
Is Clutter?
Yes, he's dead. Better for him, Ariadne. Better than a cage.